to Thursday night's Triumph Over Targeting podcast. I'm your moderator, Ella. Tonight we have another special guest. He seems to have a lot of knowledge in legal matters, which is always something very important to our community. If you are new to the call, please stay on and we will get you some support, some additional TalkShoe podcast numbers, and some helpful links and websites. This is a solutions and educational-based podcast and activism as well, but the views and opinions of my guests are not necessarily my own personal views and opinions. My goal is that everyone can obtain something out of tonight, especially a feeling of empowerment. If you have any questions, comments, questions, especially if you are in need of additional support, please don't hesitate to email me at eiangel2016@gmail.com. And thank you, everyone, for all the great suggestions and recommendations for guests. It's made it what it is, just on your recommendations alone. So I'm grateful for that. And so a little bit about our guest. John Christiana is with the nickname of Jack, has been a targeted individual for possibly over 30 years, but did not realize it until 10 years ago on November 21st, 2007. When John first realized he was being targeted, he thought that he was the only one, but that did not stop him from thinking and knowing he will confront and stop the targeting. Then he found the targeted individual groups and websites through Twitter, Facebook, and the Internet in general. Now further, John has joined forces with targeted individual leaders throughout the country to develop an action plan to confront and defeat these targeting abuse programs. The group is the inception of Midge Mathis, one of the co-founders. Their first meeting was last month in December, and these leaders have all been assigned to meet goals set out for the next meeting in 2 months. The group is called Targeted Justice. Most of us are familiar with this by now. The website is targetedjustice.com. John, with the nickname of Jack, is the legal director of Targeted Justice and is working with the team on a daily basis. For the last 10 years, John has been a victim of organized stalking, voice-to-skull, electronic harassment, focused wireless voltage shock to his eyes, organs, chin, and other parts of the body, mental and physical abuse, and invasion of privacy. The organized stalking seems to be from all over the country, but especially the local community where he lives. And John has video evidence of a lot of this local organized gang stalking and also has video evidence of burglaries by the neighbors over the last 4 years. Now he even has audio evidence of the police being involved in burglary and false imprisonment. John has kept notes, diaries, and daily journals of abuse to him from the years 2012 to 2017. It was very time-consuming as John wrote down the exact time and part of the body being shocked. John has had extensive medical tests, and the doctors could find no medical explanation. In 2016 and 2017, John sent emails about targeted individuals to about 1,000 people, and the list grew to 2,500 people. The list of individual emails he sends to include the federal agencies, U.S. senators, Congress members, local government employees, governors, foreign governments, including all G20 countries, NATO countries, ambassadors, human rights groups, and both American and international media. John Christiana has heard back from the Prime Minister of Hungary as well as the ambassadors and international governments. In response to John contacting them, John has received very positive letters from both California Senators Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris, and they have offered to help. John Christiana filed his first federal lawsuit on January 19, 2017, which he can discuss more and explain. In the lawsuit introduction, he listed the crimes, torts, and abuses by 35 defendants that he served legal papers to, including 26 federal defendants, 4 local city and county government defendants, and 5 private corporation defendants. Also on the local side, John has filed lawsuits against cities and counties that have done wrongful action to John because of John's emails and speaking out about targeted individuals. On one recent lawsuit, John has won a demurrer hearing last month against the city of Huntington Beach and the chief of police, and they are now going to jury trial. John got a Bachelor of Science degree in Business with a focus in marketing from California State University, Long Beach. Then he got a Master of Science degree in Legal Studies with a 4.0 GPA from Kaplan University. Just in the last 3 years, John went on to Concord Law School to learn law and has 2 years in so far. Before John became aware he was targeted, he held 3 professional jobs over 22 years, including 12 years at Eklund Consultants, where he was a marketing manager for the West Coast in a commercial real estate firm. John was once asked what Asked what his passion in life was and stumped for a quick answer, John decided to figure it out. John decided to travel the world and climb the 7 summits. That is the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents. John successfully traveled to each continent from 2003 to 2006 and climbed on his first attempt the continent's highest mountain. John is the 200th person in the world to climb the 7 summits, any version. But more, John became the first person in the world to climb the correct 7 summits in 2006, according to the National Geographic and all major atlases. By going public with this and technically kicking famous mountain climbers off the list, John thinks this is why the targeting increased tremendously in 2007, which was when he just finished the record in 2006 and was working on websites and contacting magazines. After traveling the world on his feet, John became a motivational speaker in 2006 and 2007, doing 25 presentations, including mountain climbing stories, charities such as the American Cancer Society, Asian American Recovery Services, Much Love Animal Rescue, and 6 churches and retreat centers. It was after this mountain climbing record and his volunteer motivational presentations and going public with the record that Jack was targeted to the degree that he is now. Now, 10 years later, after documenting evidence of the abuse, educating himself about the abuse, and going to law school, John is 100% devoted to the cause of exposing and ending the physical and mental abuse program to people we know as targeted individuals. John, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to interview again.
Thank you so much for having me, Ella.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, that covers it pretty well. And we can talk about all the different things, but that's pretty much it. I was on my way. I was finishing school, and actually I was engaged, and I was going to start a business with my fiance. I just done the 7 summits, that record, and so forth. Everything's going great. I was doing all the, as you said, I was doing those motivational talks all over the place, and all of a sudden, bam! That's when they do it. That's when I found out something's weird. I can talk about that story, how I found out on that November 21, 2007, and then
when you say bam, what exactly were you experiencing?
Well, the moment I found out, there were some strange occurrences that at the time I just thought were strange. Now looking back, I can see they were related. But it wasn't until that Wednesday night, November 21, 2007, I was talking to my website guy, and like you said, I had this record, and so of course I was excited about that. So I contacted Outside Magazine and to see if anyone else had done it. I got through to the top guy. This is a national climbing magazine, one of the biggest in the country. I got through to the top editor. I couldn't believe it, and he says, "Yeah." He talked to me. I heard about that. He says, "Send me the information you have." I was all excited. So I was getting my website up, and the first website guy all of a sudden started doing things wrong and saying things that were just odd. It's just like, what? And I didn't know about targeting, of course, at the time. I said, "Thank you, but I'm going to get a new guy." Now looking back, this is related. And then my second website guy, and these guys didn't know each other. The first guy was a friend of a friend, and the second one was through Craigslist. And he was doing everything perfect. It was online. Everything was going great. All of a sudden, that Wednesday night, he's the guy. His name was David Frock. He calls me up, and we're talking. He starts saying these weird things. He starts saying things like about my life that he doesn't know about. And how would anyone know about my life? And he just, all these odd things. And I said, one time you invited me to come to your place. I said, "How about tonight?" He said, "Sure." Then I hung up. I'm going to drive out there. And then I called my mom and dad. I said, "Mom and Dad," I said, "What's up?" I said, "Something's weird." And they said, "Come on down. You should talk to us." I lived in San Francisco at the time. They were in Orange County, which is south of Los Angeles. And I said, they said, "Yeah, it'd be good for you to talk to us, John." I said, "Wow, okay, I'll do it this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend." But then I drove out to Frock's house, and that was just a weird night till 6 in the morning. And he told me there's 200 pictures of me on the internet. And I said, "Can I see him?" He says, "Yes." And he says, "No." And then he starts threatening my life, and and he starts telling me he's blackmailing me. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Just weird. And he's my website guy, And then he had dinner, and I ate it. He thought, "I'm surprised you ate the dinner." I'm like, "What? Why wouldn't I eat the food you cooked?" And then he said the website's going down. He said, "You don't have to pay." I had a check for him for $200 I owed him for the website so far. And he said, "You don't have to pay me that." I said, What? Why not? I'll pay you the check. You're doing the work." So it was just weird, you know. And as many target individuals, they have these weird things. This is the first night that I found out something's weird, and so then I go back, and there were things with the neighbors. One of my neighbors said he gave me some analogy that at the time I didn't understand, but then I do now. He was saying he asked me, said I'm a mountain climber, can I go with him? He knows there's this pot of gold in the ground, it's the money, all this treasure and stuff. And it's kind of a weird story. He said, but it's under a rock. He said, can I help him move the rock to get this? And I'm believing the guy. I go, sure, I'll help you out. And then he all of a sudden changes course and says, no, we can't dig it out because too many people are going to get hurt. Looking back, and it just didn't make sense. Looking back at it, he was talking about this chip, whatever, the sensors inside of me, and you know, that was just a weird story that happened right afterwards. I went down to my parents and talked for 3 hours and flew back. Flew down for 3 hours and flew back to San Francisco, and I was asking them what's going on, and I'll just go ahead and say it now. I've said it once before on another show that my mom, when I was saying what's going on, my mom put her finger to her eye. Oh, no, that she did it later. No, this time she opened her eye, like just one of her eyes. Never done this before in her life. She opened one of her eyes and like really wide open. And I didn't look kind of weird, but I kept talking, looking at my dad sitting there at the table, and all of a sudden she opens it like super wide, just one of them, just constant, no blinking, no nothing. One eye wide open, super huge. The other eye, you know, not. And it's like, it hit me. My mom is being blackmailed. My mom is trying to tell me she can't talk about it. And you know, because I care about my parents, I didn't really push the issue. And we just talked on, and then I told them, I said, if you guys, you know, of course, at the time I knew nothing about target individuals. I didn't think it's the government that blackmailed my parents. I thought it was some scumball friend from high school or something trying to blackmail them for money. My parents have more money than me. So I said, don't ever pay a nickel on my behalf. I told them, I said, don't ever. I'll get mad if you ever pay a nickel on behalf. So I thought they were being blackmailed. And so I fly back to San Francisco that day, Saturday. The next day I saw a friend of mine, and right when I was talking about, I flew down and saw my mom and dad yesterday. She did this. She says, I didn't know that. She opened her eye the same way, which she's never done before. So anyway, I'm thinking, oh, this is incredible. And there's a bunch of other stories, but that was the first few days. And that Thanksgiving weekend, 2007, when I found out something's wrong. And I still, at the time, thought it was just me. I had no idea about. I never heard of the term, of course, like most of us, before we become a target individual. I never heard of the term. I had no. In fact, unlike most people who I'm meeting now, who, you know, within a year or two, they're on the websites and on Facebook. Maybe they weren't around back then, I guess, but now everyone's on these sites, and within a couple of years, they're getting active. It took me about 5 years, actually, before I found out about target individuals, and now it's been 10 years, and now we're forming this new group, and it's to take action. So I mean, I know I've heard many of your stories, Ella, and they're all fantastic. Your guests are great, the comments are great, the information is great. I've heard many, and I know a lot of them tell the stories. I mean, I could go on for hours. We want you to about just tons of weird stories. I'll just give one. I figured. Then this is again in the first week or so, and back when Circuit City was still a store, they're out of business now. And so I go over to. What happened was I figured when people start knowing my thoughts and what I'm doing, the first thing we're going to think of is. It wasn't necessarily my thoughts, but it was they knew what I was doing. So I said, there's got to be hidden cameras. That's a normal, approach. There's got to be hidden cameras. You're not going to think about something inside your body. A normal person's not going to think that. You're going to think hidden cameras, which are common, not common, but they're out there. And so I'm looking for hidden cameras. So I was trying to, I had 3 roommates, and I was going through things. Where are they? And I thought it was I thought maybe it's in this like remote thing for a Xbox that were around back then. And so I had to take it apart. And it was my roommates, so I had to buy a new one then. Because, and so I couldn't, of course I couldn't find nothing. I guess nothing was in there, nothing obvious anyway. And as it turns out, it probably was not. It was in my head, as it turns out. But so I had to go over to Circuit City, across the bay in Berkeley. And I bought this Xbox. They had one there. It looked the same as there. I could put it back there in my roommate's not going to get mad that I destroyed his Xbox remote, not the Xbox, the actual remote. So I put it there on the table, and then I was told I had to buy it over in the special orders desk. So I go there, I paid for it with a credit card. It was done. I had the receipt, and he says I'm picking it up to leave. He says he can't give it to me. He has to go over to the door, like 10 feet away, and hand it to me at the door instead of over the counter, which is a big open counter. I said, what? Okay, whatever. So I go over to the door, just 10 feet away, and he goes back to the back room, behind a door into another room, and comes out. I'm all, where's my Xbox? He's all, what Xbox? I said, what are you talking about? I have a receipt right here. My Xbox I just bought. And he's just talking like, I don't know what you're talking about. What Xbox? And I said, I want a manager. I started getting mad. I said, I want a manager right now. I want a manager right now. And all of a sudden he goes, okay. And he gets the Xbox and gives it to me. And so I walked out. But just things like that, just, strange stories that, in the beginning were a lot more of those. Now it's the usual kind of gang stalking, organized stalking, electronic harassment, voice to skull, the things you listed there. But in the beginning, there was, in this program to do this organized stalking to me, it was very obvious in the beginning, people didn't know the limitations on what they could do, what they could say. And there was interaction with people on television and stuff. It was obvious it was me, and just tons of it. Now that doesn't happen anymore. So anyway, those are the stories. And again, we could talk more about it, but there's actually a lot to talk about now, what we're doing and how we're going to win this thing. It's pretty surreal, Ellen. I know I don't need to tell you or your guests. It's unbelievable that in the United States of America, we're supposed to be the leader of the free world and a free country, a democratic republic, and it's unbelievable that we have to have these phone calls and do all these things, but we do,
Yeah, we do. So, this is a movement, and it's the civil rights movement that is occurring right now in our community. When you were going through this, were you getting support from anybody, or were people in disbelief?
Well, in the beginning, the answer is I wasn't really reaching out too much. But let me just give you, and let me answer that question. But let me just tell you my mindset at the time. I remember when I realized the night I found out they're in my head. I remember I couldn't sleep. It was so weird. I was just trying not to have certain thoughts, it was so weird. I couldn't sleep, and I did not think I'd last a month. This is early December 2007. I did not think I'd last a month. I thought I'd be dead. And I'm a really confident guy. I mean, my family could tell you that all through my entire life, I've had just nothing but confidence. And I never put people down with my confidence, but I just had a lot of confidence in myself. And which is important, actually, and that's what's carried me through it, as it turns out. So it's a good thing to have confidence. Of course, we all need to have confidence. All the greats, will say that. So that was my mentality at the time. I was just trying to, survive and try to figure out what's going on. And people, and I was actually a little more naive, because I am kind of a naive guy. I've become less naive, but people were seeming to give me clues, and I thought, once I figured it out, Ella, I thought there's just no way they're going to let me, walk around with this knowledge. There's no way they're going to let me walk around and file lawsuits and talk. I mean, there's no way. And so, I even traveled. I traveled to Canada, and I traveled to Venezuela, and I traveled to France. I went to all three countries. And when I got there, I did not do any confronting. I was just curious if they'd let me travel there. And when I went to Venezuela, I got an X-ray, because I didn't trust any hospitals here. I got an X-ray to see if I could see anything in my head. I did not. Of course, there's just no way. Those things are so small, and there's no way an X-ray is going to pick it up. But that's what I think at the time. So I did all this traveling, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And people are giving me clues, like I said, and I'm actually naive enough to believe them at the time. Now I don't anymore. Now people say things, I just dismiss it and laugh, scoff at it with a grain of salt. But in the beginning I did, and some of them were good though. So I thought, no way they're going to let me keep my memory. And as it turns out, now I found out you can actually cause amnesia and forget memory just with hits on the back of the head. But at the time, I didn't even know about that. I thought you had to like do an operation to remove memory. That's just what I was thinking, and so I figured they wouldn't do that, and I figured they're going to mess with my mind. There's no way they're going to let me do this. I mean, and how bizarre! Like all of us now, thousands of us know about this, and they're still in denial, of course. But and then at one time, even I forgot my Yahoo password. And so I asked for a new code, and it comes in, and the code had some numbers, but there was 2 words in the code: mind same, MIND, some numbers, SAME. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're telling me that no, they're not going to screw with my mind. And as it turns out, that's true. They did not. I mean, so I read into things like that, and I appreciate Yahoo doing that, and because that was like the only password I got from them, and that's what it was. So as far as reaching out for help, I was just mad and angry, and I was probably, it probably sounded strange. I was emailing people saying I thought they were going to take out the memory. So that's how I responded. So I was telling people, you're a great friend. If please remind me of anything. If I was saying things like that, which might have sounded strange to people, especially if they didn't know what's going on. But I'm trying to say, remind me who I am. If I act differently or something, if I forget who I am, if I take out memory, kind of thing. That was really my, by the way, I haven't even hardly talked about this at all. But that was kind of my thought process for the first 6 months or so. That there's just no way they're going to let me, fight them. But here we are 10 years later. But I've done nothing but, and we'll talk about this in the call here. I've done nothing but just go to law school and meet people and send emails and gather information. And now it's now we're using all this and then so my specialty has been the legal aspect and public awareness using my marketing and my legal thinking, and that's what I bring to the group with others. And then other people have expertise in reading websites, reading the government agencies and
Richard Lighthouse.
Yes, exactly. The scientific information, the scans, the frequencies in our bodies, all of that stuff. Exactly. The doctors and people in our group, the nurses, they have those skills, which I have no skill in that. So, and this is why. And by the way, in my degree in marketing at Long Beach State, that's what you learn. You learn in economics. You don't do everything. You're not supposed to do everything. I mean, you can, but to be optimal, you focus on your specialty and you trade. In marketing and in business, you trade for things that you're not as good at. So that's what we're doing. Now everyone's got their specialties and we're coming together. So I'm focusing my time now on the law and we'll talk about this. I have my own personal cases. But we have now, so I look at it as on the lawsuit side, there's federal, that's the big ones, like the direct energy weapons and that kind of stuff. And then there's the local ones, which I've been lucky that the police and people have done all these things to me. And the things they've done to me are per se, which means on its own, they are per se wrongful actions. They are per se torts, which you can sue on. So on the local side, against cities and counties, I don't even have to bring in the direct energy weapons or all these things that the court is saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That's fantastical information. I mean, like, that's crazy talk. That's what they're saying on the federal level. So I can sue on this local level with these more common torts that the courts recognize and know about and are very common, but it's related to the targeting. And so train's going by here. We'll go by in a second. So it's related to the targeting. So, in fact, the most recent lawsuit I have right now with the city of Huntington Beach and the police chief, who, of course, is related to the targeting. So he detained me. The police officer lied to detain me, and the chief of police himself detained me for half an hour without probable cause for no reason. I was at City Hall in a public area. It was just crazy. And by the way, there was meth planted in my backpack at the time. I think that was probably the reason they were going to try to do that, but they backed off, and I got out of there. But so now I'm suing on these things, but it's all related. So in this lawsuit, I sued for the called false imprisonment, which simply means that's the civil tort for holding someone against their will, not able to leave. If you're in someone's house and they close the door and say you cannot leave, and they stop you from leaving, technically that's false imprisonment. They're holding you in a room against your will, even for 5 seconds. So anyway, so I'm suing them for false imprisonment, and the city went ahead and gave me that and said, okay, fine, we'll go to jury trial on that. But they tried to make the case, this is just last month in December, and they tried to make the case about just that, a simple mistake, the police has held me too long, whoopsie, sorry about that, and we feel it wasn't too long, let's talk about it in court. That's what they tried to do, but they lost. The other two cause of actions I did were intentional infliction of emotional distress and negligent infliction of emotional distress. And what that means is, and those are torts, which you can Google them on the internet. You have to have it's outrageous conduct that's intentional, that it's infliction of distress. And so and it's because I went through that. It's because of the targeting. It's because of the past 12 months of the police harassing me. One time I sent an email to the city council, and it was just a nice email. And I sent the Ted Gunderson affidavit, the 7-page affidavit Ted Gunderson wrote to the FBI whistleblower, and I sent that as an attachment. But again, there's no threats. It's just like, okay, I'm speaking at a meeting, and here's what I'm going to speak about. Well, this police chief, was working with the FBI, and he's the FBI, he's the conduit to the FBI. So that pissed him off. So he sent 8 agents to my home 3 days later on a Thursday. That was on a Monday. And all of a sudden, I was 8 agents on my door harassing me, and all the neighbors were coming out, and the landlord's there, and it's just like, what's going on? And they said, you sent an email as a threat. I'm like, there's no threat in there. So they say, well, come out, get out of the room, and they searched my computers, they searched my phone, they searched my room. I mean, they really believed that was a threat. They were told that. They were just they were nice officers and agents, but they were told I was a threat, so they believed it. So then I was relaxed. I was outside talking, and then she comes out after about a half an hour and says, okay, we're good. Okay. I said, thanks. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you guys didn't plant anything. She's like, no. Well, she laughed. So anyway, but it was that background. I brought that into the lawsuit, and the city was trying to say no, it's not related, and I said yes, it is related. It proves the intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the judge agreed with me. It was in fact, it was during I found out that I won that demurrer. I won everything, and now we go on to voir dire. It's called voir dire, which is a jury selection, and I have 2 years of law school in, so I've learned a lot. But I'm not I'm not a lawyer. I'm not I'm not an intern at a law firm, so I'm going through it myself. I'm pretty knowledgeable on the subject, but I'm just going to on the voir dire or whatever. I'm just going to research it and read about it and do it and have some fun and how cool. I mean, I'm going to represent myself at the jury trial. I get to talk to the jury about this. I mean, that's just like a dream come true for me, and I'll bring in the targeting, and it'd be my first one like this, and then, but we're going to keep doing it. I'll keep doing it, and we should all do it. And sooner or later, we're going to break the ice. And so and there are other cities, that's Huntington Beach. There's another city, Laguna Beach. He also did some wrongs. One time, I keep an audio by the door. After some burglaries to my home and my car, I found meth twice, 2 different times. I called the police. They looked at it. They go, yeah, it could be. But anyway, so after that, of course, I got cameras and surveillance and all that stuff. And I caught people in my surveillance. And so they're not super organized because these perps that tried to break my car did not know I had surveillance. But anyway, so because of that, I had the surveillance. But one time I was gone for about 8 hours at my mom's house, and they turned the electricity off for about 8 minutes, and it knocked off my surveillance. And so I was like, that's not going to happen again. So I got audio surveillance that runs on batteries, and I keep that by the door. And so just in case, I have the regular surveillance, just in case they claim they're doing some kind of maintenance, whatever, then and the electricity goes off, then I'll have the audio surveillance, and I can listen to that. And so I always keep it by the door. So one time when I was serving the city of Laguna Beach in this big lawsuit, this guy named Jason Ferris came to my door with a mental health employee from Orange County, which is the county, and they knocked on the door. You can hear the whole thing, and then you can hear a key go in the door. You can hear the click, 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 click. It's just unbelievable. And so I'm going to sue. I already put a claim in with the city. I'm going to sue him for that. So that's called. There's actually a tort. I forget the name. It's not actually attempted burglary because that's a crime. On the tort side, and by the way, everyone thinks once they buy off the police, then they're good. Well, no, because it's true, they do buy off. They could buy off the courts sometimes, and certain people in the courts, and they can buy off police officers and things like that. And so, yeah, we can just spin our wheels. It's still good to report all the crime, of course. You have a record of it, but that's on crimes, which is the code, code of criminal procedure and the criminal code. That's you're right. All we can do is call the police. The police make a decision whether to write a report. Then they give it to the district attorney's office, which is the county. And then that prosecutor office makes a decision whether to file charges. So we don't control that. But what we do control is civil code. And civil code is big in California. It's a big blue book. It's huge. It's just as big as the criminal code. It's almost like a mirror type of the counter book to it. And we control civil. And so those are called torts. And then you sue on a cause of action. And we control that. And the reason why more people haven't done it, there have been a lot. I'm researching that now. I'll tell you more about that. Part of my duties with targeted justice. I'm doing all the research. I research every single case anyone's ever filed, at least federal in the United States. So, but anyway, we on the civil, no one's been able to afford lawyers because they charge $200 an hour, and they probably won't even do a good job anyway. They want to keep their license, and they don't want they're bought off. So, and then as far as pro pers, many people don't have the knowledge. Many people don't have even college education. They have no idea how to do this. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying they don't know how to file lawsuits, of course. And I didn't either before I got into it, before I learned it. So, and luckily for me, I was the kind of guy who always loved law. I mean, I was the kind of guy when I was a teenager and just started driving, and I got a ticket. I was the kind of guy. This the fact. I would go to the DMV and I would buy called the Vehicle Code Book, and it was a big, thick book, paperback. It was like $5 or $3.20, whatever. And I'd buy that book and I'd read the code, and so I can fight it in court. So I always had it in me, and then I learned criminal code, and so now I'm learning civil code. And so anyway, so once we know the laws, I have found in California and even federal, but we have state laws we have the laws in place. Actually, we have everything's in place, but you have to know it. We have to find it. You have to know it, and so and that's what we're doing now. We're kind of teaming up and to get this done. So lawsuits are going to get it done, but we're just now starting to realize the power. Oh, and by the way, I know you have of course more questions. I have more, but one last thing just about civil lawsuits. The word that's worth its lettering in gold. And it wasn't until my second year, the end of my second year, and of course I learned so much in law school, obviously, so much. But the best word I learned was interrogatories, and it was a quiz we had, and I hadn't learned that word yet. So they asked about interrogatories. So I went over and looked it up, interrogatories, and interrogatories are, and I had no clue. It's the ability as the plaintiff to ask the defendant, whoever you sue, to put them under oath and ask questions, anything you want about what you're suing on. And so I thought in the beginning, I took certain actions. I thought you had to go to criminal court to get testimony under oath because when you're on trial for a misdemeanor or a felony, you're on trial for an infraction. You can't go to jail, but for a misdemeanor or a felony, you can go to jail. Well, actually, misdemeanor is jail, and felony is prison. And so they will give you, of course, they'll let you subpoena. The judge is going to sign subpoenas to bring witnesses in and testify. And so I thought, in the beginning, I thought that's what I had to do. I thought I had to get a criminal trial to get my witnesses. So I just told you, my mom was being blackmailed and friends, and it's like they all know about this. So I have to, and they're being the gag order. They can't talk about it. I have to go to court, force them to, and they have an excuse. They have to under oath. And so that's what I thought. But when I went to law school, I learned no. Actually, civil code, that's what I'm talking about, once you know the law. Civil code has interrogatories and depositions, too. The difference is a deposition is live in person, and an interrogatory is you mail it to them in the mail. So it's just the cost of a stamp, and you write these questions down, and they have 30 days to answer these questions under oath. And I already did that with the city of Huntington Beach. They answered a few of them. The majority of them, they refused to answer, which is normal, actually. Most defendants are going to say, oh, we don't think that applies to us, and that's wrong. We object to this. That's normal, and the code has a response for that. It's in the Code of Civil Procedure. You file a motion with the court to compel them to answer the questions. And so that's where I'm right now. I'm working on that right now as we speak. One of my And so I'll file that with the court, and then I'll ask for I'll be the one to schedule the hearing, and then we'll both show up, and I'll say, Your Honor, they should answer these questions, and I'll give them the reasons why, and then they'll show up and say no, and the judge makes a decision. And but even with the initial one, and hopefully he'll make them answer those questions. But even with the initial one, you work the question, so there is no good response. If what the plaintiff, if what the plaintiff alleges is true, he's being wirelessly shocked. That's battery, because it doesn't matter that it's wireless. It makes no difference to the court, wireless or no. It's still battery. Battery is just the touching. Assault and battery. Assault is the threat of, and battery is the actual. The quote is unwanted touching is the definition of battery. So yes, of course, wireless abuse to us is battery. So you just ask that question: if what's alleged is true, that this plaintiff is being wirelessly shocked, is that battery? Is that wrong? And they refuse to answer that question. Well, why would you refuse? I mean, if they say yes, then they're admitting they're wrong. If they say no, then they're saying battery's okay. So the third answer is I refuse to answer that. Well, why would you refuse to answer that? So you can make it so there's no good answers for them. And then if it's a city involved or a county, you can get to go to meetings and talk about it. They won't do this. And so anyway, that's what we're doing. And all this information and more we're going to be sharing. We're going to have on our website, we'll have all kinds of different pages to go through and scans to get and different tests and things to do. And on the law side, we'll be sharing this, all these things. And even right now, I just got my small claims book, and I'll be giving out tutorials on the difference between a civil limited lawsuit and a civil unlimited lawsuit and small claims court. And basically, small claims is like up to $10,000, and limited is $10,000, $25,000, and unlimited is over $25,000. But the big difference is small claims you can't hire a lawyer; you have to represent yourself at small claims court, and the courts and the regular civil lawsuits are at the you hire a lawyer and or pro per. But anyway, so I know by experience, I know the kind of rules and the civil codes and things like that and of these lawsuits. But small claims, I'm not sure. I can't make the assumption that everything that applies to regular civil trials applies to small claims. So I have a book. I just got it 2 days ago. I bought it a long time ago, but I haven't read it. So I'm going to read that in the next week. And so I can advise people like, do they have the same like, can you do interrogatories for small claims? I don't even know. I'm going to read the book. So how is it different? So I'll give that in tutorials and tell everyone the difference and just how to do these things. And I can supply the complaint, which is the pleadings. I can supply my actual complaint and how to write a cause of action and how to the different responses they're going to do, the answer or the demur, motion to strike, summary judgment, the different things. And so everyone with this limited knowledge can do their own. And I have to admit, even myself, with all the education I've talked about, it still took me a while to understand how to. I don't know why, but it did. It took me a little while to understand exactly how to write a proper cause of action, and so I got it finally now, and that's why I won in December. I finally got it just a few months ago. Just reading and studying more, I finally figured out exactly what you got to do in your initial complaint to get past the initial motions to dismiss it. And basically, at first I thought you have to just write it and then you'll prove your case at the jury trial. And so I just wrote very minimal, that's wrong. So then I thought, oh my gosh, I have to win the whole thing. I have to have all the evidence prepared, everything done in my initial complaint, and then no, that's wrong. Actually, that's not true either. I finally figured out, no, you don't have to prove anything. Actually, in your initial pleadings, your initial complaint, you don't have to prove nothing. You just have to write the cause of action properly, which just means the facts of the case are back up the tort that you're alleging. And so it's as simple as that, really. And so whatever, they have the elements. You can go online and or in the books, they have the elements there, which by the way, we've already supplied that on our website under the targetedjustice.com under the legal section. I already sent that to our other law guys work on the website, and they've already have it up there. And for instance, on that page, you can see it all. So I list like invasion of privacy. You learn in law school there are 3 types: false light, intrusion, seclusion, and I forget the third one. There's 3 different types of invasion of privacy, and we list the 4 elements there. Each one has 4 elements. So it's as simple as that. You have to everyone has to know. You just can't say this person's stalking me. You have to actually know what the law says about stalking. So what are the elements? And so and I have that on there too. That's another one. Of course, I have them all on there. They're all in there. And so under stalking, or you can look it up online, it'll tell you what has to be done. So that has to meet the facts that you are alleging that happened to you. And it's kind of as simple as that. And if you meet those elements, you like, here's the facts of the case, here's what they did, here's what they did to me, and those facts meet the elements, well, then there you go. You have a proper cause of action, and you will get past all those early dismissals, and then you go on to jury trial. And by the way, for the people who have no money, can't afford it, if anyone on government assistance, or if you're just plain old poor, and you provide, you fill out a form showing that your expenses are your income kind of thing, then the court, at least the state courts initially will and federal too actually, but in state court it's much easier. They'll waive the fees for the $400 filing fee, and they'll waive everything, and you have the sheriff serve them, and they have the sheriff serve them where they work. I mean, there's really, and by the way, even with the cases, if you know for a fact, when your neighbors is doing stuff, you just know it for a fact, so no doubt. Then you file a lawsuit, and you can do it at no charge, and then you put that lawsuit on the internet like everyone else does. Law firms put all their lawsuits on the internet. You put that in there, you put their name in search terms. When they try to get a job 2 years from now, and they Google their name, and they find out they were a defendant in a lawsuit, that employer's not even going to care if what happened, if they won or lost or whatever. They don't even care. They found out that they were a defendant in this horrendous lawsuit. They're not going to get a phone call. And it might sound almost mean on our part, but isn't that wonderful that we have legal and rightful and appropriate things that we can do to stop them from targeting us? They're the a-holes that are doing this stuff, and it's also can set a precedent that for future people. So now all of a sudden in the future, if we don't shut it down in the next 6 months or a year or 2 years anyway, then years from now, all of a sudden we're trying to recruit people. They're going to find out, well, there's a downside now. Actually, these targets are suing now, and they're putting that information on the internet, and they're putting our names in search terms, and now we can't get a job. So no, I'm not going to join that. That ruins our life. So there are things we can do to fight back, and they're legal, and they're lawful, and they're proper. It's unbelievable that they got in this to begin with, and the reason why they're getting away with it is we're finding out the FBI is really, with me they've stayed behind the scenes, and I give them sarcastically, I give them credit, but I do, I give them credit. They've never really directly interacted with me, and they're smart because there's always a buffer in between us. But I know they're involved because of the things that people have had. Like the perp neighbors and stuff. And so what it is, so the FBI, and by the way, whenever someone tells me that the police are involved, it almost sounds crazy, but I don't ever doubt it, because I know for a fact the police are involved in 2 different cities, and then the sheriff's got involved when I lived in the county out here. So 3 out of 3, they're involved with me. So why would I doubt anybody else? So why would and the police are involved, and they're basically, I feel they're intimidated by or threatened or told to by the FBI above them. The FBI can put some leverage on them, and then they will act that way. And then they have control over the corporations that are involved, all these huge corporations and all the even individuals, perp neighbors and stuff. They're below the police and sheriffs. The sheriff, police the city, and the sheriff just means county. So, and that's why they're getting away with it, because they have this element that's overlooking it above them, and the FBI above them. So I really. And by the way, Ted Gunderson's affidavit, he was with the FBI, and we have another whistleblower, Gerald, he's on Facebook. But Ted Gunderson wrote that affidavit, and he spilled it out, exactly this. And he's, I don't know why that affidavit didn't get more weight, didn't go further. But I can tell you one thing: when I sent it to a city council, and the chief of police found out about it, that pissed him off. I struck a nerve with him, because then he's done all these things to me now, including the false imprisonment, and now we're in court. And by the way, what's so cool about the city of Huntington Beach is, I filed this lawsuit, we're in litigation right now, I filed it on May 3 of 2017. And just about 3 months ago, the rank and file police officers, it's all over the internet, you can Google it, there's tons of articles in Los Angeles Times, Orange County Register, that 92% of the rank and file police officers, 207 to 18, they voted, quote unquote, no confidence in the police chief and want him gone. The union of those police officers want him gone. And how cool is that? That the police, that for whatever reason they want him gone. This is just a few months ago. Now, about a month ago, the captains and the lieutenants, which is the management, they voted overwhelmingly they want him gone. First time they've ever done that. That was just a few weeks ago. And so now the city's in all this turmoil, and why would the entire police force, want the chief gone? So he's involved, and he's a conduit with the FBI, and I spoke at many meetings, including last Tuesday, which I haven't even posted yet. I'm going to. But I've been telling the city council in the city, because of course they're televised, and that's how we do it. We go out to county board of supervisor meetings, and we go to city council meetings, and at city council you get your 3 minutes uninterrupted, and you get to say whatever you want and tell the citizens of what's going on, and especially if you know any city.
Did we lose him? I don't know if you lost me or we lost him. Let's see. I'll see if somebody can speak up. Let me get Matthew and see if he can hear. Matthew, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so it's him. Okay, thanks. Let's see, he'll call back. Well, we'll just wait for him. Okay, so while we're waiting for him to call back, there was some numbers I wanted to share regarding the FISA. We may still have an opportunity to at least amend an aspect of FISA. So if you want to, you can call 202-804-2987. Again, that's 202-804-2987. You can email me and I'll give you the number. And so, as we all know, that the Senate's about to expand this unconstitutional spy program. So, and I don't know if we're too late. I thought we were too late, but just want to get that number out there. I received an email. So just wanted to tell everybody a little bit of activism that we can do while we're waiting for him here. Okay, this is Tim. Here he is.
Hi, Ella. I'm back. Oh. Hi, Ella. Sorry about that. Of course, obviously they disconnected us,
They do what they do. Yeah, I'm on my. I'm always on my landline. It tends to help, but with those phones, remote access is a piece of cake. So
Mm-hmm. So anyway, it was a good break there. So that's how I look at it, and I encourage people. And again, we're going to have all this information, what's right here, but we're going to also have the backup for all of this on our website, targetedjustice.com. And by the way, it might go to targetedjustice.org in the future. And we're going to have it on there of what people can do, how to work with us, and also what they can do. And so there's a federal level, like I said, and I can talk about that a little bit. And then there's the local level. So I've been lucky that just with my – and by the way, always make sure we're, never get mad, never make a threat, never, ever make a threat, because if they say you're crazy and then you make a threat, then they're going to lock you up. So people have kind of suggested that to me or whatever, and I just scoff at it. I laugh at it because God has given me this built-in buffer to never make a threat. I know, so I don't worry about that. So anyway, I've been talking at city council meetings and filing these lawsuits, and they responded. They responded, and now I get to do these local ones, and it's worked out for me. On the federal side, what I've been researching as part of my duties, and Richard Lighthouse and Midge. I mean, the team was just fantastic, the whole team, and the four co-founders, Midge, Susan, Dolly, and then there's Midge, Susan, Dolly, and Christy, of course, and then Doug is our membership guy. And by the way, our emails are all on the website. So as far as contacting the group, Doug is membership. His email's on there. My email's on there. If you have any lawsuits you want me to research. So we're all doing our thing, and everyone has their specialty. It's going fantastic. And part of my duties that Richard has asked me to do as part of my duties is tons of research. And so I'm doing a full on everything. And, we have access to LexisNexis and Westlaw, which are two search engines for federal lawsuits, not only for in the appeals process, but at the district court level. And, just a real quick overview on state courts. Every state court has, of course, we all know about our Superior Court. And if you appeal that, it goes to the Court of Appeals. If you appeal that, it goes to the state Supreme Court. And on the federal level, it's the district court. That's the lowest court, district court. You appeal that, it goes to the circuit court, which is their appeal court. Then you have, of course, the United States Supreme Court. I've only found one case, only one, that's gone to the United States Supreme Court. And most of them stop at the district level. But anyway, so I'm doing all this research, and I'm finding out, and we'll tally everything out and share it. So we're going to find out just everything everyone's done, what worked, what hasn't worked, and things like that. But the one constant thing was the same thing what stopped me is it's called subject matter jurisdiction. And you learn about that in law school, of course. It's every essay you write in law school, you have to write about subject matter jurisdiction. And there's all these different types of things. But that's the one that stopped targeted individuals. And what they're saying is, for instance, I talked about a landmark case, Stanford, who was a black person suing for his freedom in the 1800s, a big, huge case. And the court said, no, you cannot sue because you're not a United States citizen. You don't have subject matter jurisdiction. They dismissed the case. Of course, the 14th Amendment, 10 years later, overturned that. But the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments of the Constitution after the Civil War. So anyway, that's what they're saying. They said subject matter jurisdiction. Well, they're saying that about us now. But hey, we're citizens, though. What are you talking about? But that's what they're saying. They're saying it's too fantastic, too crazy. And I'm reading that in case after case. And so that's the tackle. That's the barrier. And so we'll get past it. I mean, to get past it, you have to find out what it is. And so if people that are going cold don't know that, and so they kind of go in there and then they get stopped. Well, we're going to go in knowing that, and so we're going to address that, and if we have to, even if they buy off a district court judge, if we have to appeal, we'll take it to the top court, and we'll say, are you freaking serious? You're saying because it doesn't sound, because you think it's too ridiculous, we can't sue. We don't have any. We don't have our Fifth Amendment. We don't have we don't have the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment. The Eighth, Ninth, 14th. I mean, first. Even the First Amendment, in my research, I found out something called and this is also on in the legal section in targetedjustice.com, I found out something called the First Amendment overbreadth doctrine. And normally, you have to have standing to sue on anything. And so let's say my mom is being blackmailed, my friends are being blackmailed. Well, if they're right, a First Amendment is being violated, how can I sue on that? Well, actually...
Hey, will you do me one favor? There's a message in the chat. Can you slow down just a little bit so they can understand?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. So in my research, and like I said, I'm just going to take everything apart. This is my specialty. This is what I love. This is all my life. My former bosses have told me that that's why they like me. I'm very detailed. And so now I'm taking that into this, and so that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'll do. So on the First Amendment overbreadth doctrine, if my mom and my friends are being blackmailed, basically, I'll put it that way. They might call it gag order. No, there's orders out there. They can't put a gag order on something embarrassing. This isn't national security. So anyway, if their amendment is being First Amendment is being violated, well, if it affects me, even though it's not my freedom of speech, it's their freedom of speech, but if it affects me, I can sue on it. And that's called the First, and I have the case law. It's on our website. It's called the First Amendment overbreadth doctrine. So, because otherwise you have to have standing. Well, they're saying I do have standing because it affects me. So that's the first. The Fourth Amendment, there was a case in 2011, United States v. Jones, and the United States Supreme Court voted 9-0, 9-0. So it was not a Democrat or Republican, or I should say rather a conservative or liberal thing. They voted 9-0 that the FBI and police cannot put a GPS on someone's car without a warrant. Of course, if you get a warrant, that's different. But they tried to do it on this Jones guy, a drug kingpin in Washington, D.C. And here it is, the United States Supreme Court, 9-0 voted with the drug kingpin. It would have been easy for them to say, well, he's a drug dealer, who cares? No, they followed the law, and they said no. And so he got a new trial. He was still found guilty, but nonetheless, that's case law that our government. Again, it's not so. It doesn't even matter if a justice changes here or there. It was 9-0. They can't put a GPS on someone's car. So what do you think they're going to rule on if we can show that it's something's in our body, our actual human body? You know, whether it's sensors, a chip, frequency, whatever it is, and that's just a no-brainer. You know, so I mean, everything's on our side. So it's just a matter of proving it. And Ella, with your talk shoes, yours and Ramola's, and just whatever, and all the others, Derek's, so many others, and with all the expert witnesses now coming forward, Kevin Shipp, a CIA whistleblower, he's given many talks. He's all in, and his 2016 talk, if you just Google his name, 2016. It's only 41 minutes. That's a fantastic talk, and he talks about how the government will threaten families. He says they'll get you by fear and intimidation. That's how they get you, fear and intimidation, and everyone has that. Well, once we, and I'm there, I have no fear anymore, because it's just they've already just attacked me too much. So they lose that. And so anyway, with all the whistleblowers coming forward, Bill Benny and there's again another FBI guy, Gerald, and all these, and now we're getting evidence, that the mind-to-mind technology. I was just sharing it today with our group. A guy named Steve Hoffman. If you Google Steve Hoffman and TEDx, it was the TED Talks. TEDx is international. So he gave a TEDx talk. It's only 16 minutes, and it was this year, a few months ago. And he talks about mind-to-mind communication is here. It's going to be happening soon, in our lifetime. Those are his words. In our lifetime. And he's a famous Silicon Valley guy, and Elon Musk, a billionaire, PayPal founder, Tesla Motors, self-driving cars, SpaceX, private travel into space. Totally tech guy. Elon Musk has said, that's also, if you Google Elon Musk cyborgs, because he used that word, he says an injection into the veins and arteries can hook up your mind to a supercomputer. And this Hoffman guy, he just goes on and on. He said in the near future, you'll be able to download a college education. Just download it in 5 minutes. That's, he's saying it's here. So now we have guys, this is all in the last year or two. And this is why people haven't won in the past, because, we had less whistleblowers, we had less technology announcements, things like that. And so it's all coming together. Everything is just, it's a perfect storm. And, so we have to get this out in the public. It's like any victim, just like a domestic violence, if the woman is just happy with her home and a roof over her head and meals paid for and nice dinners out and things like that, and she doesn't confront, well, things aren't going to change. He's going to continue to abuse her. But when she confronts him, she will win. And that was a big conversation last year in our country, of women coming forward that were afraid to speak up. So yeah, I really think it's, it's here. It's, and with our specialties and everything we're doing, it's going to come together. So, and like we're going to provide, and we're going to work on that in the next couple of weeks. So, for instance, I already have an evidence list together. Like I said, like the Elon Musk video, the Steve Hoffman, the Ted Gunderson, the Kevin Shipp, all these different things. I already have an evidence list, the Bill Benny and things. But I've got, now it's a year old. I've already got so much more evidence, and as I work with more people, they give me evidence. We're going to update that. We'll put that on the website. So that way you have this evidence list. So when you go to a city council meeting, or you talk to someone, or even the police or your family saying you're crazy. Everyone comes to me and says that. My family says I'm crazy. My boyfriend says I'm crazy. People are saying, this woman just came to me a few days ago and said that. And now we have the evidence. It's like, well, read this. And even MK Ultra, which we all know about MK Ultra, and the church hearings and things like that in Congress. But still, when we say MK Ultra, the public in general thinks that's crazy talk, even though it's a fact, of course. But they still think it's not even real. But here's the thing: I researched it, and I found out the United States Supreme Court in the 1980s, I think it was, talked about it and said it's real. MK Ultra, and the CIA was doing trying to control human behavior. Those words, the CIA trying to control human behavior, that's in the United States Supreme Court. And by the way, if you go to court, the United States Supreme Court, that's the Bible. Of course, for you don't have to introduce that as you don't have to ask the judge to introduce that evidence, like a request for judicial review. It's or a motion for judicial review. It's already in the courts. It's called CIA v. Sims, SIMS. And if you research that, and when I talk about people they go, well, the CIA wasn't that. It's true. The CIA, what happened is the Sims guy did a Freedom of Information Act, and he wanted the names of the CIA employees that were involved in MKUltra. And the Circuit Court, which is the appeals court, federal, said Sims is right, that you have to give the names out. And the CIA themselves appealed that to the United States Supreme Court. That's why the CIA is first. That the plaintiff's always first. And they took it, and the Supreme Court agreed with the CIA, saying those are private names. It's national security, whatever. We don't want to reveal those names. They're undercover agents. Blah blah blah. So the CIA won, but that's beside the point. We don't care. We don't care that much about that. What we care about is the United States Supreme Court in that case admitted that MKUltra is real. That the CIA was doing trying to control human behavior. And so if they did it then, that's kind of evidence they're doing it now. Of course they're doing it now. We have terrorism. So we supply all this information, and we're adding to the list. So we'll provide everyone with that, as well as we'll do like an affidavit list. Everyone's going to do an affidavit, which is just an affidavit or a declaration is just like a 1 page or more, 1 page, 3 pages, whatever. You just say, I, your name, declare under penalty of perjury the following is true and correct. To the best of my knowledge, you state 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sign your name. That's an affidavit. You're putting under penalty of perjury. You're saying this is true. It holds its weight in court. And we'll provide, and we're going to work on that. We have to contact. We have to ask Bill Benny to do some of these. He's done one or so. We have to ask him to do more. Kirk.
Weeby.
Kirk Weeby. Yeah. Well, he can do that, and even our own Karen can do that. And Kevin Shipp. Kevin Shipp says he's all in. Well, in fact, I think I've heard you have some contacts to him. We need an affidavit from him, and because these are expert witnesses. These are guys that were high-ranking people in the FBI, in the CIA, in the NSA. They're called expert witnesses. They hold more weight than me or John Doe across the street because they were in there.
I'm speaking with too that are equal and kind of in that same caliber that are curious about us and are educating them on these matters so they may join the fight. Yeah. Perfect.
And that's what we can work at, and we can get this list. And once we get this, expert witness list, that we can use this stuff, and we can, and then we have our evidence list, as far as other stuff, and we send that to our family and the courts and the city councils. I mean, how could they deny it? It's impossible. To the police, and it's just going to happen. And so anyway, we're getting all that together, and and by the way. Everyone says, when you talk about the government abuse, you talk about targeted individuals, they're going to say you're crazy. Well, I heard that over and over, but it's like, okay, it's not going to happen to me. But it did. They diagnosed me schizophrenic. The local police, this Jason Ferris guy from Laguna Beach, who's a assumed plaintiff, and the other city, the chief of police, when he detained me, he would not. I requested the report from the police station. They redacted the entire thing. They redacted it. It was just a blank piece of paper with my name at the top, basically, and a report number. They redacted it. So, in other words, they were saying, and then they went to my mom's house to tell her I'm crazy, and that's what they said. And so they were going with the crazy talk, which is what everyone says they do. Well, see, most people are upset by that. I think it's fantastic. Because I'm not. And better yet, I have the actual medical proof that I just shared with my group, and I can share it with everyone. It's on we're gonna put it. Richard said he's gonna we'll put it on there. We'll do it in the next few days. So here it is. All these police officers said I'm crazy, and now I have the proof that I'm not. It's called a PET scan. What happened is, and I'll have my explanation on the website. What happened is when they said I'm crazy, I have schizophrenia. Well, I knew I didn't. It's ridiculous, but you got to get proof. So I was reading journals, and I found out there's a test for that. And it's a scan. It's called PET scan, positron emission tomography. You can Google it. It's called PET for short. And that I have it, and we'll put that on our website. It was the best. I've seen other samples on the internet, but I've never seen one as good as the one I got, which we're going to put on our website in the next few days. And it shows like 4 normal brains, and it shows 4 schizophrenic brains, and it's a big difference. And you can see the schizophrenia. It's different colors, different patterns, everything. And that's what these scans are. Yeah.
So what do you need from us? What can we do to participate more? Maybe tell people. People are kind of familiar with it. Again, you can go to targetedjustice.com, and it's in the process of being developed. So what can we do to help out? What can we do to participate?
Send your case information to Doug Cruz. He's a membership director, and we just.
Would you have his email off the top of your head?
I think it's Doug Cruz. So DOUGCRUZ at protonmail.com. PROTON mail.com.
And there's also a link on the website too.
It's on the website. Yeah, it's on the website exactly. And we just discussed this today, and we have discussed it, and we have not decided the exact cause of actions. We've only had the one big meeting, and we don't like to talk about all strategy, either on shows or even. I
know you're going to keep it sabotage or whatever.
Right. So we have, but of course, obviously one of the major cause of actions is going to be, some kind of electronic harassment. Obviously, that's the crux of it. And we have the government involved with that. We have private corporations involved with that. Fusion centers, just everything. Like your typical gang stalking would be more individual because, to do a class action, you need to have the same cause of action. So if it's a gang stalking, if it's a neighbor or a certain police officer, that wouldn't really work in our big lawsuit. That would be when you do yourself, which we're going to supply you how to do that, how to do a smaller lawsuit yourself. So it would be that would be it. So we're right now, until we decide details on it, then we're asking for everyone just to go ahead and send us what you got, and it doesn't matter where your location is or what kind of targeting. Just send us your story, your name, your contact information, your story, and send it to Doug Cruz. And he's got a little staff now below him. We're working on that because he's just overwhelmed. Richard Lighthouse, Midge Mathis, and Doug Cruz, all 3 of them have their emails on there for on the membership side, and they were overwhelmed with hundreds and hundreds of responses. And so we want more. We want everyone, and so that's what everyone can do. And then we'll put that into our information, and then contact everyone back. I think initially everyone is being really nice and sending out a response email and then saying we'll get back to you more later. But if nothing else, it also gives us a good idea, perspective on just how prevalent the problem is and what are the main things. So I would say and then we're also asking people whatever evidence you have save it and double save it. So do that, and so when the time comes, you can supply it to us. Whether it's you can scans or whether it's video evidence or audio evidence or journals, but a lot of medical stuff. So we're asking for people to save that. And what I do to save it, because I always take precautions, and so I have it on. Of course, it's on my like my journal, for instance. I have just a regular yearly planner I use, and so every single day I put information in there, and then by the week I take a picture of it, and then I upload that picture to my computer, and then I email it to myself, and I also transfer it over to an external drive, which I carry in my pocket, a 2 terabyte hard drive that even when I go to the grocery store, I'll take it with me. I just can't take a chance. And then also I email to myself on multiple accounts, and so that's safe. So maybe is it overkill? I don't know, but I know for sure I get to keep my evidence. So everyone should take the proper precautions. So I would say So contact Doug or myself, Midge, Richard, and I think those are the 4 emails on there for right now. And volunteer, and they're doing that more. They could explain that more in the coming weeks if you have other people on. They'll explain more about what kind of volunteer positions are open. But yeah, just for instance, Doug needed help, and so of course we have to vet the people to trust them with with the information. But if people want to volunteer, then we encourage that as well. And then like I said, just and send us lots. Since I'm the law guy, send us the any prior lawsuits, because my lawsuit that I filed a year ago, January 19th of last year, when I was doing the research for Richard Lighthouse, as part of my job, doing research of all prior lawsuits, I just said, well, let me search mine. And I searched mine on LexisNexis. It wasn't there. It's still not there. And it doesn't show up. And I just saw a video from someone sent me that a lot of times our Kevin Shipp, CIA whistleblower, he said that they will purge, or they will make secret these certain lawsuits. So mine was disappeared. And in Westlaw, it also was not there, but it showed up as something else. And so it did show up, but I couldn't get to it. It's not part of your. This is a law library, so you can't see it. So I the next day I made a phone call, because I had a phone number there for Westlaw, Thomson Reuters. I called him up, and I said, I explained, and he searched his file. He found it. He says, oh yeah, okay, I see it here. Oh, there's some meat and potatoes to the finding. I don't know why. It should have been on there. That's interesting. Give me your email, and I'll get back to you. And then about 2 days later, I got an email. He says, yeah, sorry about that. I put it on now. So it's now, and he didn't make any excuses. Good for them, But he put it on there. So in other words, and mine, it was a district court case, just like all the others. It should have been there. So anyway. So the point is that we do these searches, we might not find everything, because if the government if it's a good one. So if anyone knows about anything, either your own or about someone else's, please, my email's on there under the legal, and let me know either the description of it, or if possible the case name, and I can research it. And if I can't find it, then I can get back to that person and say, tell me more, because that's what we want to do. We want to find out what judges have said what, and just exact. And we're going to dive into this. I'm doing a copy and paste on every single one, and so we're gonna tear apart and study them, and we'll be happy to share it with everybody. And because there have been a lot of, and we'll get the names too of all these people that have some people have I noticed just a few days yesterday or a couple days ago, someone sued the Pope, Pope Francis. But so some people have been really active, and they have like 6 or 7 lawsuits on there. They sue the police department, or they sue the FBI or whatever. So that's what I would say as far as what people can do. And it's pretty, as we said, Ella, it's pretty surreal, but it's going to happen, because probably whoever thought blacks would be able to vote, and sit in the front of the bus, and
whoever thought women were going to be able to vote,
Right, exactly. They had to pass an amendment in the 1920s for that, exactly. And so right, and who thought, and here it is, that Sanford guy, as landmark case, and he lost. The Supreme Court said, no, you can't sue for your freedom. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And now look where we are today. So with our case, Ella, with targeted individuals, I know, I fully understand. It's been 10 years for me, and I consider myself a pretty, strong person, and it's still been 10 years. So I understand how people have thought, but on the other hand, I've had this plan. It's God's plan, and this is how God has led me. So I've never lost faith at all, ever. So it's going to happen. It's a factor. It's going to happen. It's a matter of who and when, and the who it could be us, and the now can be now. The time can be now. I mean, I don't know, but tomorrow, but certainly in the next year or so, or sooner. I mean, who knows? So yeah, this is, like you said, opening up. This is the civil rights of our day, and and it's unbelievable. But it's actually harder than I think than what Martin Luther King had, and even the founding fathers, because it's covert. It's a stealth. They're acting like it's not happening, and the abuses are even more outrageous. Shocking the inside of our bodies and voice to skull and these things, and we're more of a minority than those other groups. So that's why it's gone on, even though it's outrageous. It's because of those factors. But hey, it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. I'm educated. I went to school. I know what kind of country we are, and I know that we have to obey laws. We have to, you fly in an airplane. You have to empty your pockets if they say so. If they say take your shoes off, you got to do that. You might think it's ridiculous, but you got to take your shoes off. Whatever. We have all kinds of laws, that we might find are stupid or frivolous or something, but we got to do it. Country we live in. But when they make laws like this, I know that's not the kind of country we are. It's not. They cannot. I know their Constitution. I know laws, and they cannot do these things to us. They cannot. They're doing it because they're doing it in secret. They're lying about it, and they're threatening people, and we're going to stop that. Because here's the thing, Ella, I have faith in our country. I have faith in America. I have faith in our legal system. And the more I research, the more faith the stronger I get in that. So it's gonna happen. So yeah, we should all get involved. And so yeah, send us your information, and then we'll and we can get back to everybody. So we're gonna have a meeting again in about 2 months. And everyone's going to come back with what they've done and on their team. We have team leaders who are responsible for making sure all the team duties get done. And you see our website; it's really moving along. Richard Lighthouse is doing a fantastic job, and just everyone's doing their things. And we talk among ourselves, and everyone's really proactive every single day. Every single day we're talking, and phone calls and text and on Facebook. Just people are meeting each other, just everything. So we're serious now. It's time to get over that. It can't be done. We're over it.
Well, on that note, how about we turn it over to the audience? Are you ready for some questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, start everybody, and I will go down the row, and hopefully I'll get to everybody. So again, star 8, and when I get to you, you'll hear an unmute prompt, so you'll know that you're being unmuted because it will tell you. I'm going to come down to Connecticut. Hi, Connecticut.
Hi, this is Connie from Connecticut. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm really just amazed at what you're doing, going to law school and exposing this, because they're doing it to men, women, and children, and I know people who have killed themselves over this, and that makes me, try to speak out and reveal this stuff. And I am going to do a signed affidavit, and I'm going to give it to Rubio, and I'm going to give it to President Trump, because I was hit in the temple by a direct energy weapon at the FDA. They didn't report it to OSHA and everything. But anyways, my question to you is, are you familiar with National Liberty Alliance and common law? Because most people have been stuck in the kangaroo court system. And are you aware that when cases go before our courts, they go out for bidding? There's something called a performance bond, a bid bond, and a something else bond. And they're being bought up by the Chinese and Japanese, and you buy them for huge amounts of money. I was just wondering, when you're going to law school, do they teach you that?
No, they did not. So I'm not aware of that. I can look into it. And there are people on our team that might. That's why our team is so diverse. By the way, and Midge, if I can give a plug for her, she did a great job of organizing everybody from all over the country, from different regions and different specialties. But so others on our team might know about that. Myself, I'll look into that, sure. But no, law school didn't talk about that. And if I could, Connie, one other thing on your affidavit, that's and also Ella had asked what people can do. If people could sign. People can do these one-page affidavits, not only send it to Trump and Marco, as you said, but send it to us, and then we can, and we'll even, I'm almost positive we'll find a place on our website, get that approved by our, by the board, the team, and we can put all these affidavits on there, so anyone could go on there and get. I'll put mine on there, and we can all put our affidavits on there, just a one page if possible, because that way there's going to be so many. And yeah, just a simple, again, just people can Google it and find out how to do it. But just so if we get yours, and then we can download 100 of them, and then that might be 100 pages, might be too much to put to a lawsuit. But what you do then is so if you send this to us, and let's say I have 155 affidavits now from 155 target individuals. So that's strong stuff. That's not just a number that we're telling a judge. That doesn't mean that much. But I have affidavits, and they might say, okay, it's too many to put to a lawsuit, which is true. So what I would do is I might pick up the really good ones of whistleblowers or something, Bill Benny or Kevin Shipp. Include those on its own. But then I would do my affidavit. Say John, Thomas, Christiana, go by Jack. But I hereby attest I have 155 affidavits from 155 people, and they're claiming all the same thing. And I sign it. That's just one piece of paper, and the court will recognize that because it's my affidavit, my declaration, that I have 155. So that's how to, so we can include that, and everyone could use these. I don't think anyone's ever done that. We just have one here and there. So that's
right. So my point to Trump and Rubio is I worked for the FDA, and in 2014 I was hit by a direct energy weapon in a conference room on campus. They failed to investigate. They failed to report it to OSHA and everything. So had they looked into it, maybe diplomats wouldn't have been hit in Cuba. So anyway, the reason
Yes, you're right. And by the way, Dr. John Hall talked about that on his little speech. Fantastic to the Allison's Unity and Hope Conference. He gave a speech, and he talked about that, exactly what you just brought up. I forgot to talk about it. He said that's one of the best things that's ever happened to target individuals, is that Cuba thing, because that gives it credibility. The governments are lost of explaining that. They all got sick, caused brain damage, and so, yeah, The Guardian reports it better. A lot of our local papers don't, but yeah, so it's kind of documented that it's real. So that's more evidence. But yeah, whenever
the reason that I'm going to give to Trump and the state police and the FBI and the governor and the attorney general and the local police and all these others is because I submitted whistleblower complaints at the FDA. This is continued retaliation, and it's related to these whistleblower complaints. So I'm going to give Trump things that I didn't tell Obama. Obama knew about me. He told Agent Wittig in the Office of Special Counsel. Office of Special Counsel said, Connie, do you know who decides if we go forward or not? I said, who? He says the commander-in-chief. That was Obama. Obama decided no go. So I'm going to reveal more to Trump how there are people in the FDA who are not protecting the public. They are doing the opposite. And, yeah, and I still have evidence, even though they're hitting me with chemical, biological, and direct energy weapons. I have a lot of evidence. Yeah, and it's in more than one place.
Can you send that up? Sorry?
That's, I think, why they never tried to do the 5150 and put me in a crazy house to say that I'm crazy. I've gone to the police. I've talked to the mayor. Nobody has ever done anything like that. And they better not, because I'll spill the beans. And billions of dollars in pharmaceutical drugs, right? That's the industry that I worked in.
Connie, is it possible that you could send a copy of that to me as well?
Yeah, I really need to make sure. It's not the one I sent to Trump is not going to be one page because I need to tell him certain things, and I can't get it in one page. But I'll give you maybe a shortened version.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Whatever you're comfortable with. But we would love to look at that too. And who knows? Maybe we can help you with that. Maybe we'll have information on that too. We can work together.
Yeah, and I did represent myself and go against a senior, a senior legal counsel in the United States government, and I prevailed. And we went back and forth with the motions, and I studied the law and the regulations and the codes, and I said, I'm going to do this. And when the judge found in my favor, he used my words,
Wow.
to justify why I prevailed. So anyways, my other question to you, if there's a class action lawsuit and a TI is a member, like say I was to do it, can I still file my own case because I am compiling evidence, like I have 7 satellite frequencies directed at me, and I've been chipped from head to toe. And so I do have, can a TI still proceed with their own case, even if they do a class action?
That's an excellent question. And let me just say, by the way, because I'm not a lawyer yet, and we have that on our website, that we're not a law firm, we're not providing legal advice, and we say, contact a lawyer if you need to. But having said that, so we need a little disclaimer there. But having said that, what I can tell you is what I know, and I have studied this a little bit, and the answer is yes and no. In other words, if you join a class action lawsuit, then you cannot sue that defendant for that claim yourself. Of course, because that would be double jeopardy. You can't sue the same, you can't sue the same person for the same thing. But if there are things different, for instance, in federal law, that if it's a different cause of action, or even if it's a different set of facts, well, then of course, yes, because it's different. So yes, you just can't. So if it is one major thing, then if you join, then that's correct. You would give up your rights individually. But if it's a different cause of action, or different, a whole different set of facts, or different defendants, then yes, you could. We'll put more of that. There's little exceptions, caveats, but I'm saying that in general, that's the main difference. That so yes, you would give up your claim for, if it's exactly the same. But if you can arrange it differently, then no, you can still sue differently. For instance, I sued on my federal lawsuit a year ago. I only put in there, it's a long story, but just the short story is I only put in there basically constitutional amendments, the first to the 14th Amendments, and a couple other things, but I did not use U.S. code at all, or even California code. I was going to. I prepared for it, and on all those, and all my research is under the law section on our website, targetedjustice.com. It's on there, my research. So you can see I did it all, and I was prepared to, but I changed my mind. So when I did that, I sued for constitutional amendments. Well, that allowed me and opened me up. I can still sue defendants for the U.S. codes, because I didn't sue them for that. And so it gave me much more options. That was just a kicker-off lawsuit kind of thing, and it gave me much more options to sue later. Kind of explain what you just asked, that because I'll sue it's a different cause of action. And by the way, on constitutional amendments, you can only sue the state or the federal government for those. If it's a county or a city or a private individual, you don't sue for constitutional amendments. You sue for the laws, the U.S. codes they're called. So I cannot violate your freedom of speech. Only the state or government can, federal government. But there's plenty of laws that cover that, though. And you'd sue under those laws.
Okay, and just really quick, you should look up National Liberty Alliance. They filed in New York federal court. They filed against Trump. They filed against probably every governor in the country. But they're really amazing. You should read some of their court filings. And in Trump, he can never say he doesn't know about the technology or he doesn't know what's going on, because in this one filing they did naming Trump as the defendant, pages 18 through 25 or around there, they actually start referring to names of systems, and they have references. So these people don't just say something, they're backing it up, and it's really amazing. Wow. And they have Monday night calls. You should really, they talk like a bunch of lawyers, but they're not. They're people who have been targeted for decades. But they don't talk about targeted individuals, but they're harassed by police, and they get foreclosures and all sorts of stuff, but false arrest. And anyways, their court filings are amazing, and once you're in one federal court, you're in all federal courts. They use common law. They're all about, Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
Okay,
wow.
Thank you.
Hey, send me what you can.
Okay, I will.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Okay, so no barks. Sorry, guys. I'm going to come down to 99. No barks. Hi, 929. You're on the call.
Hello, it's Alex. I just want to ask, how can I file an individual lawsuit?
Again, who would the defendant be? Who would the defendant be?
My neighbors.
Your neighbors. Well, what we'll do is we're gonna in the next month, the next few weeks to a month, we're gonna have information on our website on how to do that. Just some real simple things. And my website, my email's on there too. You can always ask me. In fact, if our group doesn't, then I can always do my own little tutorials as well. I've talked about doing that on just the real basics on how to file a lawsuit. I understand it's overwhelming if you've never done it. I totally understand that. It's overwhelming to me before I do it. But then once you do it, understand it, it's much easier. So, but yeah, so you would just there are samples on the internet, and I can supply samples too, of my complaints. And you just follow the sample. You just the different sections of the lawsuit, the introduction, the facts of the case, the cause of actions, the different the BART, everything to use. So anyway, that's all on there. So you can just follow our samples. So if you just go to our website in the next couple of weeks, and my email's on there. So my email is the 7 Summits, but it's on the law section on our website, and you can always ask me. I can send you samples, and without knowing about your case, I can just tell you that you just file it, and you have to look up the tort. By the way, I didn't mention before a real common tort, a real easy one kind of, is called private nuisance, and you learn this in law school. You have public nuisance and private nuisance. So if there's a company in the city, little city you live in, and the smoke from the haystack is going off and it's bothering everybody. They're coughing or of course they're probably breaking laws too. But let's just, aside from that, on the civil side, they're bothering everybody. That would be a public nuisance, and as almost like a class action, people could sue that company, and they're a nuisance to the public. There's also something called private nuisance, and that's when it only applies to you. So if your neighbors are bothering you, then just go Google private nuisance, tort, T-O-R-T is a tort, private nuisance, and it'll give you the elements there. Right on Google, it tells you all the elements and whether you meet them or not. Anyway, they're on there, and then that could be your cause of action. So, and then you just find a sample. I have those too, and you just file a lawsuit. You file a lawsuit against them, and
okay,
it's really as simple as that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on hold. I'm going to come down to New York City.
Oh.
Hi, New York.
Hello.
Hi.
Ella, this is Tom McClellan. I spoke to you on Tuesday.
Yes. How are you?
Yes, I did email you. Did you get my email?
I
did after we spoke. You'll have to look.
I have to double check.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a question for our guest about lawsuits or about targeted justice?
Well, he did. He talked about. I think it's great. I think all the stuff he's talking about is great. I think and especially talking about whistleblowers and that sort of thing, and joining forces with them. I think that's a great thing. But also, I was just wondering about he talked about your mother being blackmailed.
Yeah.
Because I sort of feel like my mom was blackmailed before she died, but probably her whole life and my whole life growing up, there was some element that she was blackmailed, and this is something I didn't actually realize to beginning maybe a year before she died to a year after she died that these things started, I started realizing the targeting from when I was very young. So I was wondering, how the blackmailing within your, as far as your mother goes, and how that pertains to you.
Well, yes, exactly. Well, I'm not saying at all that I'm going to sue my mother. I did sue my sister, but and I dropped it. But I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, but in your situation or anyone else listening, if you think someone's blackmailed, and that's the word we use, that probably government would call it a gag order, or call it some kind of government order that they can't talk about it, and they put some legal rigmarole on there and say that's what it is. When but technically it's like a blackmail, and so whether the government is legally doing that or not, whether it's illegal or whether it's legal, either way, the way to approach it, if you really are positive on someone's doing that, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend or a neighbor or anyone, you can sue them, and people don't like lawsuits. And but by the way, when you sue someone, and I didn't cover this, you can sue for damages or an injunction or declaratory relief. There's declaratory relief, injunctive relief, or damages relief. And damages just means money. And that's common. It's the most common, of course. But you can also sue for an injunction, which is just a court order. So you don't sue for damages. So you tell them, hey, I'm not suing you for money. Don't worry about that. I'm just suing you for a court order. And by the way, lawsuits happen all the time, everywhere. I mean, there's 6,000 a day in California, civil. And people sue all the time. So that's the way to get a judge to do a court order. And like I said, when you do that, it's still the same thing. It's still a complaint you have to fill out, and you get the fees waived. And you send them an interrogatory, and then if you get them under oath, so maybe this person that you feel is too late now for you, but if you felt you wanted to get them under oath, you can get them under oath. And when they were afraid to talk about it to you because they've been quote unquote blackmailed or whatever the government justifies it as, but when they get in court, that's a different story. And
does the blackmail with your mother, does it relate to the government as far as the government? It does.
Yeah.
So I think mine does too.
Right.
But it's something, growing up you couldn't talk about. But I think it caused a lot of fear in her.
Oh, it does.
A lot of fear that she had, she hid it. She was good at hiding it. But
of course. So many targeted individuals I've talked to have had their families. Yes, exactly. It's so sad they're tearing families apart because they're forcing families to lie. Or and cover up this stuff, seal it, whatever, and then and the targeted person, us, we know it's true, and that's why. So I don't mean any ill at all when I file these things. It's the courts, but it's always been the courts. That's how everyone gets things done. It's the courts, and so again, you don't sue for damage, you sue for an injunction, which is just a court order. The court's saying you have to do it, and if you want, and thank you for asking, if you want to hear a story about how much people are in fear of under oath, and that is the Bill Cosby case. Everyone's heard of that. Of course, the comedian and actor and celebrity. He, of course, and now all these women came forward, 25 or 30, whatever it is, came forward and said he drugged them and then sexually violated them, and they all came forward at once. But the reason why they all came forward is what happened is this is all, you can Google, it's on the internet, in about 2000, whatever it was, 2005, 2008, I forget the exact year, he did it, one of these plaintiffs that sued him on civil court, they did a deposition. I was talking about that. It's just like the interrogatory, but deposition is live. You have a court reporter there type, you have to pay someone to be there, and they did it, and they asked them, the lawyer for the plaintiff asked Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby's lawyer was there too, said, have you ever drugged anyone? And Bill Cosby said, yes. Bill Cosby said, yes, he drugged a woman to get her high. And he thought it was no big deal. He got it sealed. And then, but what happened is, 3 years ago, a judge unsealed it. The word got out that he did that, and all these women came forward. But the point I'm making is that even Bill Cosby was afraid of under oath. Even Bill Cosby, with the lawyers that he can afford, even Bill Cosby, when he was under oath, when he did the deposition, which is just the oral part, similar of an interrogatory, even he was worried about perjury, which means you go to prison if you lie under oath. So I'm just talking about people really are fearful of under oath. So in your situation in the future, yeah, of course we don't like suing people and hurting their feelings, but hey, we're trying to. This is the civil rights fight of our day. We're trying to end this thing, and to get people when they're in court, they will be more honest. They'll be more honest. That's just the truth. And it's always been that way. So that's what I would have suggested with your mom or anyone else. And again, just sue for an injunction, which just means a court order. So that's what I would suggest. If you really want to get someone to tell the truth, put them under oath. And by the way, also, Ella, you had asked about what people can do. FOIAs are good, and I need to do more of those too. Send out FOIAs, Freedom of Information Act, and just the more we all confront and stir the pot, the more information we get, and the more that they respond poorly. They make mistakes. If we just sit around and talk about ourselves, nothing happens. We have to confront them.
You're right about that. Very much so.
Yeah, thank you. And they're going to make mistakes too. So they're not perfect, and they're going to make mistakes, and then we can respond appropriately, of course, legally and appropriately. We respond to their mistakes.
So.
Thank you, New York. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on mute, and I'm going to go down to the next caller. Great information there. Okay, California, you're next. Hi, California.
Hi. I just had two quick questions. And first of all, what is his age now? Because I was curious in 07, like how old he was when he went bam and he realized he was a target.
Yeah. I am now 56, and it started then I was 46.
Okay. And the other question is, I had to go to the store, so I missed a lot of what you were saying, and I don't think I saw your email on the targeted justice, but I heard you give out Doug's. Do you give out your email?
Yes. If you go I'll give it to you now, but also if you somehow get a digit wrong, it's on the website under legal, and at the top at the top there's a little bars, tabs. And I think there's might be only 3 or 4. Then there's more. You click on more, and then legal shows up, and then it's on there, and it's the 7 summits at proton.com. So it's the THE, the number 7, and then summits SUMMITS. And yeah, so you can if you have any questions, feel free to call me, or any information that you have or anyone has on cases, on law that you think can help, please send it to me or someone on our team, because we'll share it, and as a team we'll talk about it. And the more minds, the more people that get together, someone might know something else, and then it kind of adds to it, jumps to it, and we might be able to get back to you and solve a problem that someone else has. Because when one of us wins outright, we're all going to win. As soon as it's going to. So anyway, 46 is it's kind of it's ridiculous. They said I somehow got schizophrenia at age 46. But that's what they did. Yeah.
And then you proved it by that PET scan or whatever that was.
Yeah, thanks for asking about that, because exactly. So, by the way, I got a call from a police officer about 3 weeks ago. And they say don't talk to police officers, but I just love it. But I recorded it, and I told the police officer, I said, I'm recording this. Are you okay with that? He said yes. I said, are you recording it? He goes, yes. Well, he's recording it, so I'm going to record it. And the main thing with the police is, so I recorded it. So anyway, what I'm getting at is that he asked me about what I was getting at is he backed off. I said, you came to my place many times because you wanted to say I'm crazy. And he goes, no. He totally was backing off. But in the beginning, he was totally saying I'm crazy, take medication. He went on and on and on. He went to my mom's house with a mental health employee. If it's not mental health, why did he bring with him a mental health employee? And with my mom's house. So they were saying, but now they're backing off. So he's called me. He's backing off because of my PET scan. I got the PET scan, and the PET scan proves I don't have schizophrenia. It's signed by a medical doctor, a licensed medical doctor in California. Not just with a degree, but actually a medical doctor. So that's why I think the freedom of speech. So yeah. And by the way, and we're gonna, again, we'll put this on the internet. We'll put this on our website. And someone's already asked me for it. I'm going to send it to her because she told me this gal had a boyfriend, and she said her boyfriend didn't believe her, and she wants me to send this to her boyfriend, and I will, or a former boyfriend, whatever. And because to prove to him that, you know what, they said I'm crazy. I have a document that a doctor said I'm crazy, and now I have a document proving no, I'm not.
Okay, but so what kind of scan is this that can prove that you are not?
Well, what I found is when I researched, it's called a positron emission tomography. It's called PET, and what the PET scan does, it's a scan of the brain, and it can find Alzheimer's, just everything. It was just bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. I mean, it'll find any kind of disorder in the brain, and so my brain came up normal. It looks normal, and the doctor, a medical doctor that does this, said it's normal, and I found out that is the scan. I mean, I found out from a medical journal. It said that is the scan they use for schizophrenia, and
okay, great. Thank you.
It's worth it for me. It's worth it because now they have to back off, and. So everyone can use this and say, see, here's an example that they say you're crazy because you talk about your target individual, and this guy's proving he's wrong. And this, by the way, this is what I'm going to be using this in my local lawsuits. And but first, I'm trying to get them to say I'm crazy under oath, and they're not going to. Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to do. But still, they had the gall to go to my mom. They had the gall to drive to my mom's house. 3 police officers and a mental health employee, and they talked to my mom and tried to tell her I'm crazy. And by the way, this was just days after that I confronted the police chief, and he detained me for half an hour. I talked about that. That's the one we're in court right now. And the next day I went there to take pictures of where I was that he lied, and he came up to me. The next day he came up to me and said, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And I said, nothing. I said, sorry. I said, this is exactly what I said to him. I said, this was just between you and me, the city, and you messed up, I'd let it go. But this is bigger than that. This is the government. And so I said, I can't let it go. And that's when he sent officers to my mom's house. So if you can afford it, the PET scan is the one.
Yeah. Great. Okay, but I would worry because my experience as a target is that everybody involved lies, from the police to the medical to, in my case, the VA. They all lie. So even if I haven't been accused of that, but if I had to get a PET scan, I would worry that the doctor would be lying anyway.
Right. Exactly. Well, I gotta admit to you, I was afraid too. I know. It's worth a shot. I know you're right. I was afraid of that too. I was so surprised that but this happened in 2013, and if I did it tomorrow, I agree with you. I would be very, very afraid they're going to fake it. But I did this 4 years ago, and I did this before I confronted them, and so they weren't as worried. This is back, and I was just going to law school and happy-go-lucky, helping out my mom, jobs around the house. So, so if anyone does it, ideally do it before you do the confrontation. Do it before you become more famous and, and file lawsuits and talk. You're right. It's a better chance. Because you're right. Otherwise, the doctors are probably going to lie. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks, Ella. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put you back on mute and come down to Northeast Texas.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, y'all. Jack, do you have on the website a case of somebody winning a case for malpractice for these misdiagnoses?
Not yet. And what I'm doing is, and I meant to tell the last caller that stay tuned. Go back to our website, and because in my cases, we're gonna report in, and whatever happens with the local police departments or local lawsuits, as well as our big lawsuit, but we'll report in and let you know how that goes. As far as if we have any information on that, anyone winning, we don't know yet. That's the research we're doing right now, and
okay, so your case is against the county, correct?
Well, I have right now. I have a case against the city, actually. The city.
City, okay. So I'm looking for a case, and I figure to help all of us. Looking for a case where we're suing a doctor, an emergency room, a medical facility for participating in or for malpractice. It would be malpractice. A misdiagnosis is malpractice. So something specific to us suing, somebody suing for malpractice would be specific. And I know some law, I know Louisiana law, there is a clause in their law that a portion in there conspire to. So check California law. You're California, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So maybe people could check others who have run into this could check to see their state law to see if they have that portion in there that you can sue for conspire to blah, blah. But with that terminology, I think that would help our situation.
Sure, exactly.
Because if you want conspiring with those sheriffs or conspiring with the police or conspiring with the billing agency or a debt collector, that's conspire too, in my opinion.
Right. And if you want to, send me an email if you want to. My email's on there. And because I'm researching, like I said, these cases, and I have seen some malpractice cases in there. And so
I'll put that on the website. I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So okay.
Thank you.
Sure thing. And by the way, everybody, a conspiracy she was talking about, all that means is conspiracy is a crime, and it just means basically to summarize it, it just means two people talking about a crime, and they're serious, of course. They're actually really serious, and some states require an overt act. So if two people talked about doing a robbery at a bank, and then someone calls the next day to just check out the bank hours, that's the overt act. And they are, at that point, before they even do it, they are already guilty of the crime of conspiracy to rob a bank. And it's separate from the actual crime. So people don't realize, but just talking about it, when these people are involved in these crimes to us, and they are crimes, they're of course, they're involved in a conspiracy. Of course, because that's just two people is all it means. So of course, you can't do a crime with two people without being guilty of conspiracy of that crime. And by the way, actually, I love talking about this. I learned in law school that we used to use the common law in the United States, but they changed over. I don't know, 1950s or something. They changed over to the Model Penal Code, and under the Model Penal Code, anyone that's involved in a conspiracy cannot exit the conspiracy. It used to be, if you're involved in a conspiracy, you can just go, you know what? Hey guys, I'm out. This is ridiculous. I don't want to do crimes. It's terrible. I'm out of it. And you tell them you're out, and then you're out. You were actually out. That's under the old common law. Under the Model Penal Code, no. It's a little more strict. You learn this in law school, and you're still in it actually. Until you have to go to the police, you have to stop the crime from happening. Otherwise, you're going to be found guilty of conspiracy, even though you got out and you were in another state when it actually happened. You're still guilty of conspiracy. So that's why, the statute of limitations for a lot of us is 1 year for the crimes. But if they were involved in a conspiracy, that part of it, they're still in it. And this is my creativeness, my marketing background, where I can be creative, and using that marketing creativeness with law. And most people would have no idea. I mean, even most lawyers probably would have no idea about the conspiracy part. And because the reason why normally a crime is just a day. That's why it really doesn't matter. No one's ever thought about it, because our crimes are going on for years. That's why it matters. And again, most crimes are just it happens and it's done. And so normally the conspiracy is the same time as the crime. But with ours, if you didn't sue someone in time, and a year passes, you might be able to get him for conspiracy still. Although the court's going to go, what, But it's because these crimes that are happening to us are lasting. The conspiracy part of it is lasting, for so long. So someone did something to me in 2008. I can claim, and rightfully, if the court believes me, I can claim rightfully and legally that, okay, they entered the conspiracy in 2008. The crime has not stopped. And so they're still in the conspiracy. They're still in it. I still have a year to sue them, even now, because they're still in the conspiracy for that crime. And so that's the law of a conspiracy. And if we can prove that the conspiracy is still continuing, and it is, as far as I'm concerned, I'm under constant assault and battery. They shock my eyes, my organs, all the time. So at night, when I'm awake, all the time. So the crime of assault just means the threat of. Battery is the unwanted touching. Assault is the threat of. If you go up to someone in a mean way and put your hand up, raise your hand up in the air in a fist, that's assault. And you act like you're going to hit them, but you haven't hit them yet. You still are guilty of a misdemeanor of assault. And so when we're wired up with sensors or whatever you want to call it, we're under 24/7 assault. It's a constant crime. And again, the reason why it's tough, of course, is because the judges have never heard of this stuff, because there's no precedent to it. That's what we have a little bit of a challenge. There's no normally it's stuff's easy, for a lawyer, a law firm. It's easy because there's precedent. You just research it. Okay, here are the facts of the case. And this, by the way, in law school, these are the essays you do. You read about the facts of the case. Then they ask questions like what cause of actions can be used or something, and you write an essay on that. And that's basically an essay like a complaint in real life. And normally, to be a lawyer, how simple. I mean, someone comes to you with, here's what's happened. You know that they broke the law, and you have some case law to back it up, which is a precedent, is all it is. And how simple is that? You file a lawsuit, and you're going to win. They're probably going to do a settlement with you. I mean, that's just simple stuff. The reason why we have a challenge is there's no precedent. There is no precedent. And yet, but that's why what we're doing. I'm researching all these cases, and I'm asking people to come forward with me with cases. And if you're saying you have one on this or that, please send it to us, and we can use that. The more the merrier. We can use that, and that's how we're going to win. That's what we need. We need precedent. We need some prior victories in a court of law, though, not just someone telling you that, but actually you can give us the case number, because when we cite it, we have to cite the case number in court. So anyway, so that's conspiracy you were talking about. It's a little thing most people have no idea about, but it's a way to be creative and bring up stuff from again, I'm under 24/7 assault, and so for me it's been 10 years of a crime, and most courts could never hear about that, would never understand, but it's 10 years of a crime, constantly being under constant assault, like most of us that are being any kind of wireless anything. But
isn't the word gang alone conspiratorial, or participating as a gang? Isn't that conspiracy to commit harassment or conspiracy?
Like gang, you mean like gang stalking?
Yes.
Well, actually, in court, if you really want, we use gang stalking as targeted individuals. We use the term gang stalking. That's great. I use it too. But in court, you would just call it stalking, because stalking is the actual tort.
That's why I was asking if including the gang aspect, if that would be considered conspiracy. two or more people are conspiring to harass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. If two or more people are harassing you, sure, that's conspiracy to harass you. That's one. Another one would be the actual harassment, and another one would be the stalking. But again, look up the tort. Look on the internet, and we have it on our website too. But the stalking has some specific elements. We generalize. A lot of us, including myself. Go ahead.
One other thing. Then, the subcommittee met. What was it, last week, about the sonic attacks in Cuba?
Uh-huh.
Did you watch that hearing?
No, but maybe I should Google it and watch it.
Well, yeah, you can find it on C-SPAN. It was a subcommittee. I think Rubio's the head of that one. Pretty sure you might get enough leads off of that. Even because they did bring up the word microwave right at the end.
Wow.
Yeah, and perhaps now that it's been a public hearing, perhaps you could pull a FOIA for the medical stuff that those people have gone through.
Great suggestion. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. And you're right. And people in our group and our team have talked about FOIAs. I know they're doing that, and they're more active than I am. And I should become more active actually in FOIAs because, again, that pushes the bar, it pushes them.
Well, thank you, Texas. I'm going to come down to Colorado now. Hi, Colorado.
Hi, it's Andrea.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi. It's great to listen to all that you have to say, Jack, because there's so much there. In my situation, my targeting stopped probably last May or so. And
wow.
And it stopped because I called the partner of the man who targeted me, the business partner, and he got so furious with the man that did this that he stopped it, pretty quickly. And he didn't know that it was going on, and he was really upset because they're very wealthy, and this put their whole organization at risk. So they stopped it. And I've been put in the mental institution 5 times for 2.5 weeks each time, and they shattered my brain, and they did something to it where they exploded it, and it bled for 1.5 years, and then after that they lobotomized out the trauma because I couldn't stop crying every day for 1 year. And because it was so painful. And I had collected about 4,000 pages of evidence and documents and license plates and everything. And after they did the torture to suicide, which was the first brain-shattering experience, they ran mind control on me. They copied me burning my trash, and they ran that sequence again on me, and I burned all the documents that I had taken because I was in such pain I couldn't stand to have anything in my house that had anything to do with it. And I just went around and I just was like crazy trying to get rid of it. It was so horrible. I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand to be in my body. It was so painful. And so it was something, they talk about the CIA hurting people to the maximum they can be hurt. And that's what it was in my brain,
Yep.
And so I don't have, I lost a lot of evidence right there. I went and told my doctor, I said, I burned up all my evidence. And he said, well, thank you for being so resilient, And he shook my hand. And I asked him, do you think it's okay to torture me? And he said, yes, if it's effective.
Wow.
So he was actually talking to me about what he was doing to me. My therapist, who I was seeing too, also told me things like these government programs don't get exposed for decades, and when they do, nobody gets punished. And he told me he knew a bunch of psychopaths, and he told me a whole bunch of things. He told me the technology was going to change the world, and he just went on and on about it. And so,
I agree.
It's actually changed how I speak, and it's changed how I act, and it's changed how I feel inside my body. My brain has been so damaged. And I wanted to get a scan from Melinda Kidder, but she wouldn't do it for me. And then she stopped doing it altogether. And I would not be surprised that the people that targeted me targeted her, because they're so wealthy. I got on a plane to go get the scan, and I got a heart attack. So they stopped my heart. And I just couldn't get any evidence. I mean, they ran around and erased everything. They got everything I had. So I don't have any evidence, hardly. I just have my story. And the group this was a double targeting. It was this wealthy individual, but he had another group of individuals underneath that didn't know about him, that actually set up the school play to target me. And that group of people, I found all of my documents on their computer, and I found they'd been investigating me, and I didn't know how they got the documents out of my house because, it's on my computer, and they would have had to come in my home and take it off of my computer. I don't have social media. So it's a group of 8 people who are the board of a client that I was on their board, and they staged a horrible board meeting and punished me in the board meeting and put me down, and they just got up and screamed at me, and then I found I do web development, so I had their computer, and I looked at the computer, and it had all these documents from my husband, who had just left me through another targeting incident, completely separate, and he was marrying the woman who's president of his church. So there were pictures of him on there that I'd never seen from his Facebook. And there were documents that he was working on for our business, which we had together, that were tax documents I'd never seen. So they had done a deep dive into my background to see if they could target me, and then they went ahead and did it. So all I have is I gave that to my partner, and I told him, we need to take this to police, and he took it home and erased everything and gave it back to the client. And so, but he did see it all. He did work hard to erase it, so I could get him in court to testify that he did see it. But that was all the way back in 2013. And so the espionage has a 3-year statute of limitations. And I just, there's also the deal here that's happening for us that's unique, all of us, that while we're being targeted, we don't have the ability to set up a lawsuit. I could just barely go to the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work. I failed at everything. So I'm disabled. I've been put on SSDI because I'm so disabled from it that I only stay in my home. I don't ever go out. So I'm suffering still today, and I don't really have the ability or the knowledge to set up a lawsuit. And, I don't know. For all of us, we need a longer term of statute of limitations because we can't do this while it's happening to us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you can still send us your information. By the way, a lot of people think that their word is not evidence. It is. You learned that in law school. Your word is evidence when it's under an affidavit. So if you want to get back at them, at least at a minimum, and by the way, I think we're going to do this. We'll have a sample. We'll have a sample up pretty soon. We'll have a sample on our website of an affidavit, like a 1-page affidavit, and it's a real simple one. And then people can use that as a template. And I know. there are many people that have already done this, and then you could send it. You could write the affidavit in one page and send it to us, either Doug or Midge or Richard Lighthouse or myself, and we can make that part of our lawsuit, and at least you'll get there's a minimal, like there's a little bit of satisfaction, because again our words actually are evidence, and right, if it gets to a jury might go, oh well, all we have is our word, that's not enough. Well, yeah, but when we have 100 of these, when we have 300 of these, well, okay, that's something to notice. So together we can do that. So we'll get a template up pretty soon, and that's what I would ask. At a minimum, you can either join our lawsuit. Right now, we're not charging, so just send us your information. And because as I said, I define conspiracy. The statute of limitations might be expired for the conspiracy part of it. So we would ask, go ahead and send Doug your information, and then if you want to do the affidavit, send to any one of us, and we'd love to have that. And everyone can use that. Everyone else, every other targeted individual that does a lawsuit, we can help each other. So we can have 100, like I said before, we can have 100 or 200 affidavits, and that's going to make everyone's case stronger because our words are evidence. And so I know I heard what you said, and yes, I agree, and that's what they think. That, by the time it gets announced and admitted to, no one gets punished, and just like MK Ultra, and I described that it got into the courts. You had the church hearings, and then a lot of the people, right? The CIA was protecting them. Exactly, that was the case. CIA v. Sims. Sims, this guy named Sims, I forget his first name. It was on the internet. He's under the case. He tried to get the names, and the Supreme Court agreed they're protected. So yes, you're right. It's terrible, but that's why we're punishing. We don't want to wait 30 years. We want to get this out in the open now. And if I think about it, like for me, it's been 10 years. If I would have, done a different path. I thank God for everything. I don't blame God for it. I thank God for everything. I thank God for choosing me. God gave me so many attributes and skills and resources. I thank God that He chose me that He's chosen me to fight for Him, to fight for His truth and His laws. So it's an honor that God chose me to fight for Him. So I turn it around, and so anyway, so it's been 10 years, and but sometimes I think, what if I would have done things differently, and if I would have won 5 years ago? That means everyone in the last 5 years would have been targeted. And that's why our case now. That's why we want to win now. We want to save future victims. It's not even the current victims; it's future victims. These people aren't going to stop. It's women and children and men in the future that are going to be targeted. So that's we're trying to stop that. So our cause is noble, of course. It's not about us anymore. It's about everyone else. So yes, you can still get involved, even if you think that certain things are past the statute of limitations, and doesn't matter. Who knows? Maybe we'll find some little loophole and something we can get you get you in there on the lawsuit. So I would say go ahead and send Doug your information, and we'll put it in our files, and then as a team we'll review everything, and then but even everybody is a target individual. If it's true, you say it under oath, do an affidavit, and we can use that. And if and we're using your name. And at least you get some satisfaction out of that, because for me, whenever anyone else wins, I look at it as satisfaction, because it's the same enemy, it's the same program, whether it's the corrupt element of the FBI or the NSA or the Department of Defense or these big corporations. Some of the people are saying involved, and we're still researching that. And yeah, it's the same people at the top, because all this technology they're using on me, of course they're going to use it on other targeted people. It's the same program. So when one of us wins, we all win, because it's So I would just ask you, don't give up hope. Send us your information, and we'll get back to you.
Well, thanks for that. I really appreciate that. I know she'd appreciate it. I lost her somewhere on the board.
Okay.
Where she went, but I'm going to come to Florida now. Hi, Florida.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, this is Beth. I have a quick question. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm getting there. I'm above water right now. My question is, in regards to the class action suit, the people, I've had some people that I do know that were cooperating with my perps, and can they be included with a class action suit against however this is done? I mean, can they be included?
Well, basically, if a phone carrier makes, let's say a phone carrier overbills, let's say they have some policy in place. I'm going to explain class action. If a phone carrier has some policy in place where everyone gets overbilled from 2014 to 2016, and so what they do is we've all gotten little postcards in the mail, and it says if you had this carrier at this time, you can join a class action lawsuit. And so the way it works is it's the people, it's the plaintiffs, or the victims, or the people that lost money or were abused or whatever. It's something we all share in common. That's what the class action is. The class action is it's an action by a class of people, and so we all have the same damages done to us, so we can sue together. And it just makes everything easier because then you just have one law firm basically instead of if there's 5,000 people, then it's instead of being 5,000 lawsuits, it'd be one lawsuit. The courts would rather have that. And then the court would give a bigger settlement, and then the settlement is separated out proportionally, kind of to damages. So that's what the class action is. We have to. So that's why I said before, with the gang stalking, it would be more difficult. We still want your stuff. Please, everyone, just go ahead and send Doug your whatever it is, and we can see what we can use. But generally, if it's just gang stalking, it's much more difficult because the person doing the crime is your neighbor or something, or your local store, and that applies only to you. So we can't use that in class action because the class action has to be something shared by all of us.
Yeah,
so
the only thing is, unfortunately, one of my neighbors, who I was friends with before the perps came, rents 5 houses in the neighborhood. And I do know that he rented them out to them, or whoever these people were, or are. I think they're still here. And the thing of it is, he made several comments and actions. I mean, there would be even rental checks would have names. I mean, I would need an investigation on it, but the thing of it is, he said too many things that I know he was involved to me, and I don't doubt. I mean, he had his phone with him all the time. And but there was too many things that he mentioned to me that only the perps would know about me. And I doubt that if he was on the stand that he would lie in front of a jury or judge.
See,
he would be one of them, but but there's information that would be even on his telephone bills as far as phone calls he's made to these people, rental checks, the names on the people that rented the houses. I don't have the means to try to investigate all this stuff, but I doubt that he would be able to lie on the witness stand as far as the people that he cooperated with that are hurting me. I don't think it's my neighbors or anything, but I think they cooperated with these people. And my neighbor, the one neighbor in particular, rented the houses out to them. So, like I said, I'm that far into it, but I was curious with other people that have said things that only the perps would know. I doubt that they wouldn't lie. I don't think they would lie I think they'd be pretty scared to lie on the stand. And if they were called to the stand with the class action suit, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, would we be able to include those people in the class action suit against however we're doing this?
Maybe, because here's the thing. Normally in the old days, before this technology of violating our bodies and violating our minds, and they're not really reading their minds because they're not. It's not special. They have no special power. It's just science. It's just computers. So, but they're basically spying on our minds. And so, but before this technology, in the old days, if someone knew what you were doing in the privacy of your home, then you probably look for hidden cameras. And then it's going to be some local perp, some local freak, whatever, and that would be it. Now, here's what's happened with this new technology now. there's a new part of it, and now it's violating our body. And so now we have to consider that. So if you can't find cameras, then it's actually a possibility that they're in your head, and then then you would be part of the class action, because if they've put something into you, and we have Elon Musk and Eric and Steve Hoffman and others have verified this is true, then like for instance they have something inside me to hear my thoughts. And by the way, when Elon says this and Steve Hoffman says this, that's the private industry. And the government, I've been forever, the government's always been like 30 years ahead of the private sector on everything, whether it's the internet, whatever it is, they're way ahead. So if the private sector is talking about this now, the government has had it for a long time. So we just didn't know about it. And so when I found out they violated they violated my body to know my thoughts, to whatever degree, then okay, that's fine. But so what makes me think they don't do it to other people? Of course they do. Of course they've infected tons of people. And here's the thing: with me, they decided to let me know. I mean, by doing this gang stalking and making it this huge thing. And so they made it very obvious to me. I mean, I gave some examples in the beginning. It was just ridiculous. So they let me know. But if they had chosen not to let me know, then I still would not know. So think of all the people out there. This is what people don't even think about. Think about the people in the United States that don't even know. They've been contaminated by some kind of shot in their body, and they don't even know. And the government's tracking everybody like little spies, and that's the danger to society. That we're gonna fix a lot of this. When we win, we're gonna stop a lot of it. But the invasion, I've told people that we can stop the direct energy weapons and the hurting and all the abuse and the burn and just tons of stuff we can stop. The whole gang stalking thing, everything. But the invasion of privacy, I find it very difficult. We're going to be able to stop that, because they'll do that in secret. They're not going to just give up and just and become good all of a sudden.
Yeah. But I mean, there would be evidence on the phone numbers and everything of the people. Even she's now an ex-friend, but another one I know has been cooperating as well. And I thought even information she would have and stuff, even like or what, I don't know.
So you can still send us information, and it's possible. Like I said, it's that you could be in the program, and if enough odd things have happened, sure, you could let us know. I mean, and we talked about this also. We're gonna stop what we can, but there's just so much. It's unbelievable, the corruption and they've had such a head start on us. But we're catching up now. We're making progress.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for answering my question.
Sure. Thank you for calling.
Okay.
Thank you, Ella.
I'm down to Florida Metro. Hi, Florida Metro.
Hello there. This is Christina, and I wish we had a lot more lawyers that thought like you did. I've been a target 10 years, and I have a question for you. I have several, I had emails in the beginning of my targeting that actually came from, it was in the German language. Would you think that'd be good evidence to bring to court?
And it's the evidence of your targeting for what again?
Okay. So I've been a target since around 07, 08 it started. It was over some acquaintances I met that pretty much are, as you say, they pretty much hate everything in the world, including themselves. And how do you say that? Like narcissists. I'm not saying the word right. Okay. Narcissists.
Oh, narcissist. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, they had told me we think we're gonna check your monitor your brain. I go, what are you talking about? I said, listen, go your way, and I'm gonna go mine, because see, I knew I'm from the '60s, so I knew nothing about this was ever existed. But anyways, bottom line is I'm American. so I'm born and raised in Chicago. But I started getting, I don't know nothing about any other languages than English. And I started getting these emails, and these emails came in German language. Would you think that would be one of a good evidence to bring to court? Or, because I haven't started anywhere yet, only because it's not so much fear. I just kind of thought if you walk, if you just kind of leave things alone, they'll finally go away. But this thing was something that just never went away. And in fact, tonight, my husband was going out to the corner store, and there was a white car, a white minivan, brand new, sitting in front of our house with the lights on. As soon as he flicked him, the guy took off like Speedy Gonzales, you know what I mean. And my second question is, since I haven't reported this I've reported this to many police. There's also a girl that was on earlier. I had a doctor do some really nasty stuff to me, knock me out with some kind of medicine. Kind of like maybe like when you go under anesthesia. Okay. He gave me one pill because I had back problems. I went in there with extreme pain. For one pill that I was taking, I was just out of my medication, and I asked for one pill. That's all he would give me because he was told that I was a street pharmacist and a drug addict, and I do not do drugs or I don't even drink, And this all, like I said, started in 2008. So that is like a malpractice thing, but that happened in 2016. So would I be able to do anything about that yet? But I did report it to the main hospital.
You did report it. Well, I mean, if you want to send your information to our membership guy, and when we say membership, that just means you're not really joining that just means you're sending us your information. It means you're giving out your name and the information about your case, and then we'll review it and so forth. So that's all it is. So yeah, if you want to send your information to our guy.
Now, there was one question I had, another question I had that kind of confused me. So like, I have thought about doing this myself, but I don't have I'm going to be honest, I don't have the background and education enough and knowledge how to put together a good report as an attorney would, okay? I mean, like legal words and stuff,
Right.
What do you think? Okay, in a case like this where I have been poisoned, I have been drugged, I have been the same thing like you. I lost a mother in 16 because they put her on the list because they wanted to look after the main seed. I still get the harassment phone calls, So any phone call I made from the beginning, they followed my tracks and found out who my people were. So my mother's now gone because of this, and my aunt has been put on the list. She's got the same health problems I do, like swollen legs and really sick and vomiting and, the whole 9 yards. And what do you think your best advice is? Is to go on your own and do the lawsuit, or would it be better to join, like yourself? You're about to be an attorney, and go with an attorney on on a class action lawsuit. What would your, advice be to me?
Again, when you put it that way, I'm not a lawyer yet, correct? So this is not legal advice, but just I can give you my opinion, and my opinion is
advice, yeah.
Right. Well, my opinion is, well, yes, I'm educated, and I have a degree and a master's degree and 2 years of law school, and I'm part of it. And the reason why is because I want to stop the program, and together we're stronger, and we're sharing information and so forth. So by the way, you brought up you don't have all the legal stuff. Yes, exactly. That's the point. You're right. That's the point. That for instance, I gave you the example before of and for everyone who listens to this, when a phone carrier does something wrong, you get the little postcard in the mail, and yes, everyone that gets the postcard has no idea about the law. They just say, yeah, I used that phone carrier 3 years ago. Yeah, that's why I got the postcard. So you sign it, you just sign the thing and mail it into them. And that law firm that's doing it, the class action, they do all the work, and then when they win, they just mail you a little check. As simple as that. So now with the phone carrier thing, what the difference is, they got your name because they forced that phone carrier they forced through the courts. They forced that phone carrier to give out all the names of people that had their favorites in those years. They already went to the courts. So with us, it's a little bit different because the government's not going to give us names, right? The United States government or these corporations are not going to give us the names of the people they're targeting, obviously. So that's why it's different. We're going on the other side. We're going to the victims and saying, you give us your names as part of class action. You don't have to have any legal knowledge, and give us your names, and you have to tell us a little bit about your case, of course. And so yes, you don't have to have legal knowledge.
What is your first name, please?
I'm sorry?
Oops, hold on. Does that sometimes. Go ahead.
What is your first name, please?
My name is John Christiana. I go by Jack. My nickname is Jack. So people call me John. Some people call me John. Some people call me Jack. They both are fine.
Okay, Jack.
Sorry, I keep doing that. Thank you, Florida. I have time for one more question, and then maybe we'll close out a little bit. So let me go down to California. Oh, my board's being super touchy. Sorry, guys. At least it's working tonight. So thank you, Talkshoe. Hi, California.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question for you. You said your name is Jack?
Yes.
I've got a book on this called Policing for Profit, and it talks about the kangaroo courts. It talks about the quota of writing tickets. It talks about the quota of putting people in prison, arrests, twisting the law, traffic safety, which is my thing, what they did to me. I'm a veteran of 19 years in the Air Force, 3 war campaigns I served in overseas.
Wow.
I had many decorations. I was put 4 ranks above my own pay grade as first sergeant, which is 1 rank below an officer. I didn't want the job, but when Iraqi freedom came, I'm like, assume the position, deal with it. So I did. Anyway, fast forward, I was a whistleblower. I am a whistleblower since I came back in 2004. But what happened to me, which I was really shocked that they could pull this illegal stuff on me. I've never broken the law in my entire life, never stole a pencil, a pen, worked in corporate America for the high-tech companies, telecom, banking industry, airlines. So I've had a successful career. I own my own home, which as a single woman, the money I was making was surprising I could even qualify, but I did. I ended up having a short sale it. But moving fast forward, 2015, I was all this information I forwarded to my senator who's in the CIA of everything that happened from the suicides that they did nothing about, from the mental health officer who committed suicide, the girl in my section before I got there, and the others that I was protecting going covert. And I expected I was going to get a court-martial for that, for protecting them, but I didn't care. I was not going to let them keep trying to commit suicide and let them feel like the law isn't on their side. So I said, we're going to the Air Defense Council. I didn't go in when I was 18. I went in when I was 23. We're going to go down there. You're going to know military rights, left, forward, backwards, every which way. And he reports to the Pentagon, does not report to the Wing Air Base commander. So you are in good hands. They cannot touch you. I'll make sure you don't get a unlawful court-martial or dishonorable discharge, and I saw that through. So 2015, I was going to drop off my dog. I was in Oceanside. I was about to drop off my dog at the Penn Hotel. So it was Labor Day weekend. I was going to help the vets down in San Diego. Well, I was speeding. I was going 90. on 78 going east. But everybody else, the highway was going 80, 85. And if you do not go with the flow of traffic, you can be cited for that. Well, I see fire trucks because, as you know about California, at that time there was lots of fires in East County. It was dark. It was 9 o'clock at night, which I think it was June. I had just looked up something about Operation Jade Helm, which, if you know, Jade Helm 2015, they were doing illegal civil forfeiture, taking people out of their homes at 3 o'clock in the morning, taking their land, taking their vehicles, taking everything, weapons, whatever. And this was the Black Ops, the Green Berets, Special Forces, the Russians were trained and involved in this, and this was a mass from the whole Southwest corridor, from Colorado all the way down to California, Texas, and everything in between. Then the next year they did, 2016, they did the East Coast and the Midwest, and they did the same thing and put people in FEMA camps. So 2015, when I saw the lights, and I thought, why aren't these other people pulling over for the fire trucks? And, you know, the cop comes up to my door, and he's like, why didn't you stop for me? And I said, what are you talking about? I was wondering why the other people weren't pulling over for the fire trucks. I said, I didn't see you. It's dark. My dog was with me. She's a big 70-pound dog. She's my service dog because I'm 100% disabled vet. And so I said, I didn't see you. I would have pulled over. So he asked for my license registration. I showed him. I said, everything's up to date. You know, I felt I had no worries. I had nothing on my record to indicate that there was anything unusual, that I had, you know, any real issues. I had a couple of speeding tickets, nothing major. So he asked me to get out of the car, and I thought, that's strange. So I get out of the car. He puts me in handcuffs. I've never in my life been in handcuffs. I was not being crazy. I was cooperating. As a military veteran, you comply. You do not resist. You comply. And it will work itself out, right? Well, that didn't happen. So he took me away from the other police officers because he did not want them to hear or be a witness to what he said to me. So he takes me over there telling me I'm not being arrested. I have fractures to my spine and my neck and my hands from the military. I was in excruciating pain with these behind my back. And I said, well, if I'm not being arrested, because I know I haven't committed a crime, give me a drug test. You won't find anything. No alcohol, no drugs. I don't do any of that. Never have, never will. I don't have anything in my car. Feel free to search it if you want. You won't find anything there either. So I'm clean, you know, and I'm on your side. They're going to tell you to stand down. I'm not telling you to stand down. They're going to tell you guys, the police, to stand down, because the police are going to stand down in order for these military operations that are normally done on Camp Pendleton on the base, they're going to do in the counties, and they're going to come in plain clothing as well. And I saw that at some of the rest stops. So anyway, I said, well, if I'm not being arrested, then maybe I should file a complaint against you. Well, that was the wrong thing to say, just like you. And he said, well, maybe I'll suspend your license. And I thought, no, he couldn't do that because he has nothing to go on to do that. Well, he did. Then he tells me he's having my rent-a-car towed away. I said, wait a minute, I'm paying rent. Why don't you tow it back? Because I still owe money on this rent-a-car because my car has been unpredictable. Oh, no, we can't do that. So he's like, oh, we're going to take you to the hospital and get you checked out. Because I start having anxiety attacks as soon as he's doing all this. And so the ambulance is right there. And they're like, you know, if you don't stop, you're going to have a heart attack. You're going to cause yourself a heart attack. And I said, you know, I need my dog. I just bring my dog over here or get me a paper bag and I'll be fine. I'm hyperventilating. I wasn't this way always, but, you know, toxic mold I was exposed to in San Clemente, the Vioxx that they gave me for the pain for my heart attacks, even though it causes heart attacks for my pain. I stopped taking it, but it still did some residual damage to my heart, which I never had heart problems. I was a picture of health. I was a junior Olympic figure skater. I was always about health and the latest, greatest, you know, smoothies, exercising, whatever. So he said, well, we're going to take you for evaluation because you had this panic attack. I said, well, I didn't have the panic attack while I was driving. I'm having the panic attack now because putting me under duress. So I said, well, if you're going to take me to the hospital, you're going to take me to the VA, not to the civilian hospital. They took me to the VA, and all of them, they know I've been in the emergency room for these anxiety attacks. And I didn't know if they were energy weapons or not. I didn't even know about any of this. I didn't know about the group, nothing. So I'm in there. I'm in the room with my dog. I decided, I'm just going to go to sleep because I'm so tired. I don't want to be reactive. I don't want them to think I'm nuts. And so the doctor finally comes in, and she said, "Why are you here?" And I showed her the paperwork. I said, "This is why." They brought me in handcuffs, and all the doctors were shocked because they know me. They know I am not that kind of person. And they hurried me into another room. And I said, "This is what he put on there that I was talking about, jihad." I said, obviously his hearing wasn't checked because I said nothing about jihad. That's the last thing we have to worry about. It's Operation Jade Helm. How could he not know this? And I said, "Well, are you military?" When he pulled me over, he's like, he took offense. And I said, "Well, if you were military, you would know." And believe me, I'm on your side. I had a lot of people in my unit that work for the Sheriff Department, Police Department, Internal Affairs, in the jail. And I was friends with all of them.
Story just a little bit because I only have a few minutes, just so you know.
So they took me for eval and released me, and I went and did what I was supposed to do with the safety check, went down and took the written test. It was a $1,000 ticket, by the way, which it took me about a year or two to pay off. I didn't go to court because I figured it was going to be kangaroo court, and all that. So I didn't go. I just paid the ticket. And then went and took the written test, and the lady said, "Well, you need to take a driving test and a vision test." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So a friend was going to help me out, get a rent-a-car, and take the driving test. So anyway, it was weeks that went by, and I heard nothing from this woman that was really rude and obnoxious when I went and did the interview at the safety office. So 3 weeks went by, and I told the secretary, I said, I better hear from her soon, because if I don't, tell her that I have someone in the Senate that's CIA, and I will be going to Department of Transportation, the DMV, Department of Justice, and I will have everybody on her. I will have her job and her head on a platter, or something to that effect. So she better get her act together. And I am not kidding about this. I said, let her try me and see what happens to her. So I get a notice back rejecting, the stuff. I had to go to my doctors to get reports from my physical health doctor and my primary care doctor and my mental health doctor. Both of them gave me a full bill of health. There's nothing wrong with her. She's on these medications for her thyroid, hormones, and I was on for depression and for anxiety attacks only as needed. That's it, period. So there was nothing to show.
Amy, I can't do a long testimony. I only have a few more minutes.
Okay.
You got to close it out.
Sorry. So that got rejected, and I had my two-star general write a letter. He's known me for over 15 years. He was my ombudsman, and he's very highly looked on in the communities. He even wrote a character letter about me. I've known her for this many years. There's nothing wrong. There's no reason why she can't drive, to do what she's doing, to volunteer to help the vets. So what do I do at this point? Because I don't want to drive and get put in jail to do the wrong thing. I've always been on the side of the law.
So, well, I mean, it's a hard question to answer. That you're saying whether or not have you gone through the courts? Have you what have you done with anything with the courts on this?
Oh God. I muted her, and now I can't find her. Darn it, there's still like 20 questions, and I don't see her. I'm not sure what she's done, and I don't see her now. Amy, star 8. If all I see are states, I don't see phone numbers, so now she's kind of lost in the abyss.
Well, the question was, the question she asked, should she drive now?
Let's see if this is her. Is this you, Amy?
Yeah, I'm here. So
Okay.
what is my alternative? Because I know military law very well, but I don't know civil law because I've never had to.
Well, yeah, that's that would be basically.
I didn't go to court because everybody told me you're going to lose. Don't even bother. So I didn't. Just would have had to get a cab to go there, and I wouldn't feel comfortable going alone because I felt I was going to be railroaded.
Well, the court is typically the best way to resolve things. I mean, everyone uses the courts. I understand that a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, and again, that's why with the typical targeted individual, that's why we're doing a class action. The reasons you just have explained, and the previous caller too, that we'll do all. We're doing the research. We're going to be using lawyers as well, and all this. As far as that's yeah, exactly, because a lot of people like yourself are uncomfortable with that. But the thing is that it used. By the way, if someone does something wrong, like for instance, if a police officer was wrongfully detaining you, it used to be you could actually stop them legally because they're wrong. But now the law has changed under the model penal code, and you have to let them do the wrong to you and then sue them later. And that's what I'm doing actually with one of my lawsuits. So if they're doing wrongs to you, I mean, even though I know you don't like the courts, you're saying, but that's really the kind of remedy. And even if you're not going for damages, again, you can do an injunction, and we'll have samples on our website and so forth. And by the way, in your story, you could also call law firms, and a lot of law firms will listen to your story and then tell you if you want to take your case. And if it's a good case, they will even just charge. They won't even charge you up front, not hourly. They'll just let you know. They'll charge a percentage, and they get 40%. They get 33% or 40%. And yes, I understand lawsuits are not everyone's first go-to, but and myself, I'm the same way. I have stories where I could have sued people and I would have easily have won. Lawyers would have loved to grabbed it up, but I'm not that kind of a guy. I've changed because now it's different now. It's ridiculous, and so sometimes legal action is just the only thing they listen to, So if they're really, doing these wrongs to you, and again, you don't have to sue for damages. You can sue for an injunction, which is, it would be just like a lawsuit, but instead of saying damages on the first page, you'll say injunction. As far what I was getting at, I would never recommend just disobeying, an agency or the police if they have any kind of legal authority behind them. You have to go through the courts, or through the agency, for these for this action. So that's what I would suggest: either going through, either talking to law firms, or going to the agency, or if you have all this in a blurb, you could email it to me. My email's on there, and but you have the courts. The courts are really the way to adjudicate any wrong they do to you. It's sad, but that's just how it is. It's sad we have to do that. But that's the situation we're in.
Well, John, I just want to say thank you for answering all these questions, and I know there's still like 20 people that still have questions. Do you want to, maybe it's 10, it's hard to tell with these numbers. It's like 12 people that still have questions. So you guys can find him on targetedjustice.com. And so, thank you also for kind of, advising people on what they can do and how they can contribute. And everyone has a lot to look forward to with this group that's moving forward and doing great work, and we've got a great team. And is there anything you want to add as far as activism goes and what people can do?
Yeah, it's just the FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and you can find that you can Google it and find it, and you can. So the more we all do, and the more information we get, even documenting, what's going on in journals, that actually is evidence when you attest to it under oath. under oath, and any medical scans. Everyone's been talking about that. Our team and get those done, save those, and then when the time save all that stuff. When the time comes, then we'll be we'll ask for some of it, and then in the meantime, contact us. Doug Cruz is the membership. His email is on the website, and that's pretty much it. It's we'll be, my email's on there, and Midge and Richard, and we'll be happy to answer questions. And we are excited. And do I have 1 minute to give you a quote from Patrick Henry? Hello?
Hey, John, I'm sorry I got disconnected there. I didn't get to hear what you said, but were you finished speaking?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Do I have about 30 seconds to give you a quote from Patrick Henry?
I would love to hear a quote, and then I have a couple more things after that.
Okay, and this is just 30 seconds. This is, and just so everyone knows, we are really, as I discussed in the beginning, that this is civil rights, just like the 1960s. And I know people haven't really looked at it that way. We're individual victims. No, this is once I'm there myself. If there's, I'm 100.0% confident, and I know most people are. And so we're here as civil rights, and it's very similar to what the founding fathers, the thinking process of the founding fathers, and they actually went to war. We're not doing that. We're staying within the system. We're being legal, but the founding fathers went to war against the British. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, it's a great opening and closing. In the middle, they listed 27 grievances that they had with the British, and ours are much better. What the government's doing to us and these private corporations are much worse than what the British ever did to the founding fathers and the colonies, 13 colonies. So anyway, when our country decided to gain our independence, and that's kind of what we want. We want our independence too. Here's the words of Patrick Henry, who in 1775, March 23, 1775, he was speaking to a group, and it's very similar. In other words, they were a smaller group against a bigger group, and he's saying that the attack's already started, and they're not going to stand here and just do nothing. So here it is. Here's just a small section of the speech, at the very last of it. Quote, Patrick Henry: "They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed, when the British Guards shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying spinely on our backs and hugging the delusion and phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means which the God of nature has placed in our power." And then he goes on at the very end. "It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war has actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that the gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death." And then they all cheered. So I love that, because it's the same situation we're in. We want, we're going to fight and until they kill us or whatever. That's the death. Otherwise, we're going to fight, and the more we fight, the stronger we become, and we're going to get stronger by fighting.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening. I'm going to thank you, Ella, again, and you and Romola and so many others, and like I said, Derek, and doing these podcasts, sharing the information, getting people in touch with each other, and it's a fantastic job you're doing. And now this group, taking legal action and more. We're a lot more than that, and together we're going to get it done. And despite, I know everyone thought it won't get done, it's going to get done, because like I said before, we have faith in America. So I just want to thank you and thank Midge and the co-founders and everyone, Susan, Christy, and Dolly, the co-founders, and Doug's doing a great job, and Richard Lighthouse and everyone, and doing a great job.
John, I was thinking about how we found you. I think I found you on YouTube in a comment, and then I reached out to you.
Yeah, Ella,
That's how I found you.
Thank you for bringing that up. It's so funny. You're right. You did, and see, and this is a good example. Thank you, Ella, for bringing it up. This is a good example for everyone listening, and because it was you were on some show where it was yours. I forget which it was. I made a comment to you, is all, and I gave you my phone number or email on there. Yeah, and I gave you my email, and you responded. It took you a couple of weeks to read the comment. You responded and said, "Oh, I'd love to hear your story." I remember that. Yes. So it's through this networking that we. Yes, it's through the network that we're meeting each other.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah, it's wonderful to YouTube. Hold on one second. And anyways, if you guys would like to go to another call afterwards, we have Kyle's call. It's 142-394. He's a wonderful person and just one of my favorite people that do these types of calls. Again, it's 142-394, and it's TalkShoe. And then tomorrow, you guys, I have a DOD whistleblower who found some contract fraud from the Air Force, and he's going to be on the radio show 6 p.m., and it's at freedomslips.com. You can do it online. There's also a call-in number available on the website at freedomfortargeted.individuals.org under support. The links, some of the links aren't. They just updated the whole thing, but hopefully it'll work. 25% of the time I get blocked. I can't get my guests on. I have a lot of issues. Even the station now suspects there's foul play on my part on people trying to keep me from having these amazing people on. But hopefully we'll be there, and I hope you guys can listen. And thank you guys for coming. I'm so glad TalkShoe worked and was behaving tonight. And I'll see you guys next Tuesday. And everybody take care. Thank you, everybody.
Jack.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Ella.
Jack.
Seven summits, any version. But more, John became the first person in the world to climb the correct 7 summits in 2006, according to the National Geographic and all major atlases. By going public with this and technically kicking famous mountain climbers off the list, John thinks this is why the targeting increased tremendously in 2007, which was when he just finished the record in 2006 and was working on websites and contacting magazines. After traveling the world on his feet, John became a motivational speaker in 2006 and 2007, doing 25 presentations, including mountain climbing stories, charities such as the American Cancer Society, Asian American Recovery Services, Much Love Animal Rescue, and 6 churches and retreat centers. It was after this mountain climbing record and his volunteer motivational presentations and going public with the record that Jack was targeted to the degree that he is now. Now, 10 years later, after documenting evidence of the abuse, educating himself about the abuse, and going to law school, John is 100% devoted to the cause of exposing and ending the physical and mental abuse program to people we know as targeted individuals. John, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to interview again.
Thank you so much for having me, Ella.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, that covers it pretty well. And we can talk about all the different things, but that's pretty much it. I was on my way. I was finishing school, and actually I was engaged, and I was going to start a business with my fiance. I just done the 7 summits, that record, and so forth. Everything's going great. I was doing all the, as you said, I was doing those motivational talks all over the place, and all of a sudden, bam! That's when they do it. That's when I found out something's weird. I can talk about that story, how I found out on that November 21, 2007. And then
when you say bam, what exactly were you experiencing?
Well, the moment I found out, there were, there were some strange occurrences that at the time I just thought were strange. Now looking back, I can see they were related. But it wasn't until that Wednesday night, November 21, 2007, I was talking to my website guy, and like I said, like you said, I had this record, and so of course I was excited about that. So I contacted Outside Magazine and to see if anyone else had done it. I got through to the top guy. This is a national climbing magazine, one of the biggest in the country. I got through to the top editor. I couldn't believe it, and he says, "Yeah." He talked to me. I heard about that. He says, "Send me the information you have." I was all excited. So I was getting my website up, and the first website guy all of a sudden started doing things wrong and saying things that were just odd. It's just like, what? And I didn't know about targeting, of course, at the time. I said, "Thank you, but I'm going to get a new guy." Now looking back, this is related. And then my second website guy, and these guys didn't know each other. The first guy was a friend of a friend, and the second one was through Craigslist. And he was doing everything perfect. It was online. Everything was going great. All of a sudden, that Wednesday night, he's the guy. His name is David Frock. He calls me up, and we're talking. He starts saying these weird things. He starts saying things like about my life that he doesn't know about. And how would anyone know about my life? And he just, all these odd things. And I said, one time you invited me to come to your place. I said, "How about tonight?" He said, "Sure." Then I hung up. I'm going to drive out there, and then I called my mom and dad. I said, "Mom and Dad," I said, "What's up?" I said, "Something's weird." And they said, "Come on down. You should talk to us." I lived in San Francisco at the time. They were in Orange County, which is south of Los Angeles. And I said, they said, "Yeah, it'd be good for you to talk to us, John." I said, "Wow, okay, I'll do it this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend." But then I drove out to Frock's house, and that was just a weird night till 6 in the morning. And he told me there's 200 pictures of me on the internet. And I said, "Can I see him?" He says, "Yes." And he says, "No." And then he starts threatening my life, and and he starts telling me he's blackmailing me. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Just weird. And he's my website guy, And then he had dinner and I ate it. He thought, "I'm surprised you ate the dinner." I'm like, "What? Why wouldn't I eat the food you cooked?" And then he said the website's going down. He said, "You don't have to pay." I had a check for him for $200 I owed him for the website so far. And he said, "You don't have to pay me that." I said, "What? Why not? I'll pay you the check. You're doing the work." So it was just weird, and as many target individuals, they have these weird things. This is the first night that I found out something's weird. And so then I go back, and there were things with the neighbors. One of my neighbors said, he gave me some analogy that at the time I didn't understand, but then I do now. He was saying, he asked me, he said, "I'm a mountain climber. Can I go with him? He knows there's this pot of gold in the ground, the money, all this treasure and stuff." And it's kind of a weird story. He said, "It's under a rock." He said, "Can I help him move the rock to get this?" And I'm believing the guy. I go, "Sure, I'll help you out." And then he all of a sudden changes course and says, "No, we can't dig it out because too many people are going to get hurt." Looking back, and it just didn't make sense. Looking back at it, he was talking about this chip, whatever, the sensors inside of me, and that was just a weird story that happened right afterwards. I went down to my parents and talked for 3 hours and flew back. Flew down for 3 hours and flew back to San Francisco, and I was asking them what's going on, and I'll just go ahead and say it now. I've said it once before on another show that my mom, when I was saying what's going on, my mom put her finger to her eye. Oh, no, that she did it later. No, this time she opened her eye, like just one of her eyes. Never done this before in her life. She opened one of her eyes and like really wide open. And I didn't look kind of weird, but I kept talking, looking at my dad sitting there at the table. And all of a sudden, she opens it like super wide, just one of them, just constant, no blinking, no nothing. One eye wide open, super huge. The other eye, not. And it's like, it hit me. My mom is being blackmailed. My mom is trying to tell me she can't talk about it. And because I care about my parents, I didn't really push the issue. And we just talked on, and then I told them, I said, if you guys, of course, at the time I knew nothing about targeted individuals. I didn't think it's the government that blackmailed my parents. I thought it was some scumball friend from high school or something trying to blackmail them for money. My parents have more money than me, so I said, don't ever pay a nickel on my behalf. I told them, I said, don't ever. I'll get mad if you ever pay a nickel on behalf. So I thought they were being blackmailed, and so I fly back to San Francisco that day, Saturday. the next day I saw a friend of mine, and right when I was talking about, I flew down and saw my mom and dad yesterday. She did this. She says, I didn't know that. She opened her eye the same way, which she's never done before. So anyway, I'm thinking, this is incredible. And there's a bunch of other stories, but that was the first few days. And that Thanksgiving weekend, 2007, when I found out something's wrong. And I still, at the time, thought it was just me. I had no idea about. I never heard of the term, of course, like most of us, before we become a target individual. I never heard of the term. I had no. In fact, unlike most people who I'm meeting now, who within a year or two they're on the websites and on Facebook. Maybe they weren't around back then, I guess, but now everyone's on these sites, and within a couple of years they're getting active. It took me about 5 years actually before I found out about target individuals, and now it's been 10 years, and now we're forming this new group, and it's to take action. So I mean, I know I've heard many of your stories, Ella, and they're all fantastic. Your guests are great. The comments are great. The information is great. I've heard many, and I know a lot of them tell the stories. I mean, I could go on for hours. We want you to about just tons of weird stories. I'll just give one. I figured. Then this is again in the first week or so, and back when Circuit City was still a store, they're out of business now. And so I go over to. What happened was I figured when people start knowing my thoughts and what I'm doing, the first thing we're going to think of is. It wasn't necessarily my thoughts, but they knew what I was doing. So I said, there's got to be hidden cameras. That's a normal, approach. There's got to be hidden cameras. You're not going to think about something inside your body. A normal person's not going to think that. You're going to think hidden cameras, which are common. Not common, but they're out there. And so I'm looking for hidden cameras. So I was trying to, I had 3 roommates, and I was going through things. Where are they? And I thought it was I thought maybe it's in this like remote thing for a Xbox that were around back then. And so I had to take it apart. And it was my roommates, so I had to buy a new one then. Because, and so I couldn't, of course I couldn't find nothing. I guess nothing was in there, nothing obvious anyway. And as it turns out, it probably was not. It was in my head, as it turns out. But so I had to go over to Circuit City, across the bay in Berkeley. And I bought this Xbox. They had one there. It looked the same as there. I could put it back there, and my roommate's not going to get mad that I destroyed his Xbox remote, not the Xbox, the actual remote. So I put it there on the table, and then I was told I had to buy it over in the special orders desk. So I go there. I paid for it with a credit card. It was done. I had the receipt, and he says I'm picking it up to leave. He says he can't give it to me. He has to go over to the door, like 10 feet away, and hand it to me at the door instead of over the counter, which is a big open counter. I said, what? Okay, whatever. So I go over to the door, just 10 feet away, and he goes back to the back room, behind a door into another room, and comes out. I'm all, where's my Xbox? He's all, what Xbox? What are you talking about? I have a receipt right here. My Xbox I just bought. And he's just talking like, I don't know what you're talking about. What Xbox? And I said, I want a manager. I started getting mad. I said, I want a manager right now. I want a manager right now. And all of a sudden he goes, okay. And he gets the Xbox and gives it to me. And so I walked out.
The Thursday Night's Triumph Over Targeting podcast. I'm your moderator, Ella. Tonight we have another special guest. He seems to have a lot of knowledge in legal matters, which is always something very important to our community. If you are new to the call, please stay on, and we will get you some support, some additional TalkShoe podcast numbers, and some helpful links and websites. This is a solutions and educational-based podcast and activism as well, but the views and opinions of my guests are not necessarily my own personal views and opinions. My goal is that everyone can obtain something out of tonight, especially a feeling of empowerment. If you have any questions, comments, questions, especially if you are in need of additional support, please don't hesitate to email me at eiangel2016@gmail.com. And thank you, everyone, for all the great suggestions and recommendations for guests. It's made it what it is just on your recommendations alone. So I'm grateful for that. And so a little bit about our guest. John Christiana is with the nickname of Jack, has been a targeted individual for possibly over 30 years, but did not realize it until 10 years ago on November 21st, 2007. When John first realized he was being targeted, he thought that he was the only one, but that did not stop him from thinking and knowing he will confront and stop the targeting. Then he found the targeted individual groups and websites through Twitter, Facebook, and the Internet in general. Now further, John has joined forces with targeted individual leaders throughout the country to develop an action plan to confront and defeat these targeting abuse programs. The group is the inception of Midge Mathis, one of the co-founders. Their first meeting was last month in December, and these leaders have all been assigned to meet goals set out for the next meeting in 2 months. The group is called Targeted Justice. Most of us are familiar with this by now. The website is targetedjustice.com. John, with the nickname of Jack, is the legal director of Targeted Justice and is working with the team on a daily basis. For the last 10 years, John has been a victim of organized stalking, voice-to-skull, electronic harassment, focused wireless voltage shock to his eyes, organs, chin, and other parts of the body, mental and physical abuse, and invasion of privacy. The organized stalking seems to be from all over the country, but especially the local community where he lives. And John has video evidence of a lot of this local organized gang stalking and also has video evidence of burglaries by the neighbors over the last 4 years. Now he even has audio evidence of the police being involved in burglary and false imprisonment. John has kept notes, diaries, and daily journals of abuse to him from the years 2012 to 2017. It was very time-consuming as John wrote down the exact time and part of the body being shocked. John has had extensive medical tests, and the doctors could find no medical explanation. In 2016 and 2017, John sent emails about targeted individuals to about 1,000 people, and the list grew to 2,500 people. The list of individual emails he sends to include the federal agencies, U.S. senators, Congress members, local government employees, governors, foreign governments, including all G20 countries, NATO countries, ambassadors, human rights groups, and both American and international media. John Christiana has heard back from the Prime Minister of Hungary as well as the ambassadors and international governments. In response to John contacting them, John has received very positive letters from both California Senators Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris, and they have offered to help. John Christiana filed his first federal lawsuit on January 19, 2017, which he can discuss more and explain. In the lawsuit introduction, he listed the crimes, torts, and abuses by 35 defendants that he served legal papers to, including 26 federal defendants, 4 local city and county government defendants, and 5 private corporation defendants. Also on the local side, John has filed lawsuits against cities and counties that have done wrongful action to John because of John's emails and speaking out about targeted individuals. On one recent lawsuit, John has won a demurrer hearing last month against the city of Huntington Beach and the chief of police, and they are now going to jury trial. John got a Bachelor of Science degree in Business with a focus in marketing from California State University, Long Beach. Then he got a Master of Science degree in Legal Studies with a 4.0 GPA from Kaplan University. Just in the last 3 years, John went on to Concord Law School to learn law and has 2 years in so far. Before John became aware of it, he held 3 professional jobs over 22 years, including 12 years at Eklund Consultants, where he was a marketing manager for the West Coast in a commercial real estate firm. John was once asked what his passion in life was, and stumped for a quick answer, John decided to figure it out. John decided to travel the world and climb the 7 summits. That is the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents. John successfully traveled to each continent from 2003 to 2006 and climbed on his first attempt the continent's highest mountain. John is the 200th person in the world to climb this.
Who I am, if I act differently or something, if I forget who I am, if I take out memory, kind of thing. That was really my, by the way, I haven't even hardly talked about this at all. But that was kind of my thought process for the first 6 months or so, that there's just no way they're going to let me, fight them, But here we are 10 years later. But I've done nothing but, and we'll talk about this in the call here. I've done nothing but just go to law school and meet people and send emails and gather information. And now it's now we're using all this and then so my specialty has been the legal aspect and public awareness, using my marketing and my legal thinking, and that's what I bring to the group with others. And then other people have expertise in reading websites, reading the government agencies, and
Richard Lighthouse.
Yeah, yes, exactly. The scientific information, the scans, the frequencies in our bodies, all of that stuff. Exactly. The doctors and people in our group, the nurses, they have those skills, which I have no skill in that. So, and this is why. And by the way, in my degree in marketing at Long Beach State, that's what you learn. You learn in economics. You don't do everything. You're not supposed to do everything. I mean, you can, but to be optimal, you focus on your specialty and you trade. In marketing and in business, you trade for things that you're not as good at. So that's what we're doing. Now everyone's got their specialties, and we're coming together. So I'm focusing my time now on the law, and we'll talk about this. I have my own personal cases, but we have now. So I look at it as on the lawsuit side. There's federal, that's the big ones, like the direct energy weapons and that kind of stuff. And then there's the local ones, which I've been lucky that the police and people have done all these things to me. And the things they've done to me are per se, which means on its own, they are per se wrongful actions. They are per se torts, which you can sue on. So on the local side, against cities and counties, I don't even have to bring in the direct energy weapons or all these things that the court is saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That's fantastical information. I mean, like, that's crazy talk. That's what they're saying on the federal level. So I can sue on this local level with these more common torts that the courts recognize and know about and are very common, but it's related to the targeting. And so, train's going by here. We'll go by in a second. So it's related to the targeting. So, in fact, the most recent lawsuit I have right now with the city of Huntington Beach and the police chief, who of course, it's related to the targeting. So he detained me. The police officer lied to detain me, and the chief of police himself detained me for half an hour without probable cause for no reason. I was at City Hall in a public area. It was just crazy. And by the way, there was meth planted in my backpack at the time. I think that was probably the reason they were going to try to do that, but they backed off, and I got out of there. But so now I'm suing on these things. But it's all related. So in this lawsuit, I sued for the called false imprisonment, which simply means that's the civil tort for holding someone against their will, not able to leave. If you're in someone's house and they close the door and say you cannot leave, and they stop you from leaving, technically that's false imprisonment. They're holding you in a room against your will, even for 5 seconds. So anyways, I'm suing them for false imprisonment, and the city went ahead and gave me that and said, okay, fine, we'll go to jury trial on that. But they tried to make the case, this is just last month in December, and they tried to make the case about just that, a simple mistake. The police has held me too long. Oopsie, sorry about that. And we feel it wasn't too long. Let's talk about it in court. That's what they tried to do, but they lost. The other two causes of actions I did were intentional infliction of emotional distress and negligent infliction of emotional distress. And what that means is, and those are torts, which you can Google them on the internet. You have to have it's outrageous conduct that's intentional, that it's infliction of distress, and so and it's because I went through that. It's because of the targeting. It's because of the past 12 months of the police harassing me. One time I sent an email to the city council, and it was just a nice email. And I sent the Ted Gunderson affidavit, the 7-page affidavit Ted Gunderson wrote to the FBI whistleblower, and I sent that as an attachment. But again, there's no threats. It's just like, okay, I'm speaking at a meeting, and here's what I'm going to speak about. Well, this police chief, was working with the FBI, and he's the FBI. He's the conduit to the FBI. So that pissed him off. So he sent 8 agents to my home 3 days later on a Thursday. That was on a Monday. And all of a sudden, I was 8 agents on my door harassing me, and all the neighbors were coming out, and the landlord's there, and it's just like, what's going on? And they said, you sent an email, it was a threat. I'm like, there's no threat in there. So they say, well, come out, get out of the room, and they search my computers, they search my phone, they search my room. I mean, but just things like that, just, strange stories that, in the beginning were a lot more of those. Now it's the usual kind of gang stalking, organized stalking, electronic harassment, voice to skull, the things you listed there. But in the beginning, there was, in this program to do this organized stalking to me, it was very obvious in the beginning, people didn't know the limitations on what they could do, what they could say. And there was interaction with people on television and stuff. It was obvious it was me, and just tons of it. Now that doesn't happen anymore. So anyway, those are the stories. And again, we could talk more about it, but there's actually a lot to talk about now, what we're doing and how we're going to win this thing. It's pretty surreal, Ellen. I know I don't need to tell you or your guests. It's unbelievable that in the United States of America we're supposed to be the leader of the free world and a free country, a democratic republic, and it's unbelievable that we have to have these phone calls and do all these things, but we do.
Yeah, we do. This is a movement, and it's the civil rights movement that is occurring right now in our community. When you were going through this, were you getting support from anybody, or were people in disbelief?
Well, in the beginning, the answer is I wasn't really reaching out too much. But let me just give you, and let me answer that question. But let me just tell you my mindset at the time. I remember when I realized the night I found out they're in my head. I remember I couldn't sleep. It was so weird. I was just trying not to have certain thoughts, and it was so weird. I couldn't sleep, and I did not think I'd last a month. This is early December 2007. I did not think I'd last a month. I thought I'd be dead. And I'm a really confident guy. I mean, my family could tell you that all through my entire life, I've had just nothing but confidence. And I never put people down with my confidence, but I just had a lot of confidence in myself. And which is important, actually, and that's what's carried me through it, as it turns out. So it's a good thing to have confidence. Of course, we all need to have confidence. All the greats, will say that. So that was my mentality at the time. I was just trying to, survive and try to figure out what's going on. And people, and I was actually a little more naive because I am kind of a naive guy. I've become less naive, but people were seeming to give me clues, and I thought once I figured it out, Ella, I thought there's just no way they're going to let me, walk around with this knowledge. There's no way they're going to let me walk around and file lawsuits and talk. I mean, there's no way. And so, I even traveled. I traveled to Canada, and I traveled to Venezuela, and I traveled to France. I went to all three countries. And when I got there, I did not do any confronting. I was just curious if they'd let me travel there. And when I went to Venezuela, I got an X-ray because I didn't trust any hospitals here. I got an X-ray to see if I could see anything in my head. I did not. Of course, there's just no way. Those things are so small, and there's no way an X-ray is going to pick it up. But that's what I think at the time. So I did all this traveling, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And people are giving me clues, like I said, and I'm actually naive enough to believe them at the time. Now I don't anymore. Now people say things I just just dismiss it and laugh, scoff at it with a grain of salt. But in the beginning I did, and some of them were good though. So I thought, no way they're going to let me keep my memory. And as it turns out, now I found out you can actually cause amnesia and forget memory just with a hit on the back of the head. But at the time I didn't even know about that. I thought you had to do an operation to remove memory. That's just what I was thinking. And so I figured they wouldn't do that, and I figured they're going to mess with my mind. There's no way they're going to let me do this. I mean, and how bizarre! All of us now, thousands of us know about this, and they're still in denial, of course. But and then at one time, even I forgot my Yahoo password, and so I asked for a new code, and it comes in, and the code had some numbers, but there was two words in the code: mind same, MIND, some numbers, SAME. And it's like, oh my gosh, they're telling me that no, they're not going to screw with my mind. And as it turns out, that's true. They did not. I mean, so I read into things like that, and I appreciate Yahoo doing that, and because that was the only password I got from them, and that's what it was. So as far as reaching out for help, I was just mad and angry, and I was probably, it probably sounded strange. I was emailing people saying, I thought they were going to take out the memory. So that's how I responded. So I was telling people, you're a great friend. If please remind me of anything. If I was saying things like that, which might have sounded strange to people, especially if they didn't know what's going on. But I'm trying to say,